also sorry for like putting it off so much. It's been fucking hectic lately for me, man.
Oh no, it's no worries. I just like I've always wanted to stream and um, just do like a drawing stream. So I just got my computer sideways and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I mean
Just like
it's
talk and draw.
hell yeah, dude. And that's usually what
Hopefully
we do here.
by the end of it, we'll have something good on this paper. I'm about to start a new piece.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm just gonna also, because I do this thing now on, maybe you've seen it on Instagram, a doodle of the day, where I draw something. And just draw like try to, it's not a daily thing, but I try to have as much of a frequency as I possibly fucking can with it, and just draw whatever comes to mind. Yeah, what's up, Deserpy? Nice to see you again. It's been a minute. How have you been?
Oh.
He's a regular in my stream. He's more than welcome. Like, we're probably gonna be yielding questions from people on the stream tonight. You know, people that might have some questions for you or whatever.
Yeah.
If they're more than welcome to, I assume. Hopefully. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll answer basically anything. But you're gonna have to read them to me because I don't even have a screen right now.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem. That's why I'm keeping my eye on the chat window right now. It's all in order. I'm just making sure that everything is set up and ready to go. By the way, I have to give a shout out to Fart Smeller for following me 3 days ago.
Fart Smeller.
Great name. You know, it's the same as Jenkum Huffer. That's a pretty classic name there as well. Yeah, the names on Twitch, like, sometimes you run into some characters with their fucking names, that's for sure. Like, a couple days ago, a guy called 2001 Chevy Blazer followed me as well. What poppin'?
I used to love them. I tried to trade my Forerunner for a Blazer Extreme one time.
Oh, shit.
Everyone knows what Extreme is. It's basically a Blazer with ground effects, body kit, and some rims.
Wow, shit. What's the current whip you're riding with? Because I saw a few, like, Instagram, like, stories. Like, yeah, cars.
I got a 1995 Buick LeSabre, but it's kind of just like a beater car. I plan to have something really nice, like, in a couple months. I'm looking at Cutlasses and Roadmasters, just something fast, again.
Yeah.
You know, I like old cars, but right now I just got a LeSabre, kind of a beater car, but I love it still.
Hey, yo, if it gets you from point A to point B, you know, what more do you need, you know? What I mean?
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I bought it for like one grand. That's all you
yeah,
need.
that's a steal right there, honestly. You can make a grand in no time if you know what the fuck you're doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure all that shit out, you know, but we're on the right path. We've got a lot of shit coming up with scumtapes, and I'm doing some stuff now as well, you know, trying to get my print shop in order again, and trying to go down sort of the similar route as you of selling physical pieces again. But that's sometimes it's a bit of a tougher sell, considering I'm mostly a digital artist. I do a lot of stuff and like on tablets and stuff, but it is what it is, really. But you know, I get commission work. I got a couple of pieces that I gotta work on for a couple clients, so I'm not completely out of pocket in a sense. So that's how I make money.
Are you drawing right now? Have you started?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh shit, I'll start too. I got a blank piece. But,
just doodle and do whatever, man. School.
Yeah, I want to fill this page by the stream's end, you know.
Yeah.
But you've seen my work. It's a lot of like psychedelic patterns and symbols and faces and shit.
I saw, like, for example, like the Playboy symbol, right? Like the bunny. It's super interesting what kind of a history that it has, especially if you're like familiar with like Chicago gangs from like the 70s and stuff.
I'm not familiar.
Like 2-6 and gangs like that. They used to use the Playboy bunny, but it had one crooked ear. And there were a couple of variations of the gangs because, you know, just it's a weird sort of permutation of gang culture in Chicago, is that there's a lot of also Freemason imagery or royalty imagery and stuff like that, because some of the gang leaders were actually like Freemasons and stuff like that as well. But the Playboy bunny was specifically used by 2-6, and they had one gang called Dark Side 2-6, which was basically sort of like the more evil counterpart to 2-6, and that was a rabbit with a hood on. You could still see the ears coming through, and wearing sunglasses. And the gang was notorious for like cutting power lines so they like black out streets and stuff so they can rob people easier and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, what's the Zerpy talking about? School, that shit is frustrating. I don't know, I manage, good for you. I mean, it's school, man. Like, don't worry about it. I think, you know, in retrospect, we look back at school at an older age being like, I mean, that shit wasn't that bad.
It was dope.
Yeah, I mean...
I liked school. I never had a... I mean, I didn't really do my work, but, like, it was
Same.
fun.
I'll say same. I didn't do a lot of schoolwork, but I got through high school. And then I tried college, and I was like, yeah, I ain't really, like, gelling with this all too well. You know what I mean? I tried, but it wasn't really my atmosphere, in a sense. You know, I didn't really enjoy it that much, in a sense. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it was of college. Like, I tried applying for art school. The first time I got rejected, and then I did, like, a post-graduate year, like a post-senior year at another school. And then at that year, I did a lot of cool work. I learned a lot of cool shit about different techniques, printing and painting and sculpting and stuff. But it also disillusioned me so heavily to, like, the sort of mainstream art world, in a sense. You know, your Sotheby's, your auction houses, your galleries and stuff like that, and how a lot of those places are insanely predatory towards artists and seemingly just, like, are looking for to buck the trend, basically. They don't give a fuck. They see you as an asset and an investment, not as, like, an artist. And
Yeah, right.
that was one thing that really put me off. And then I reapplied for an art school, got in, but I thought I was going to be overjoyed of, like, yeah, I'm going to get an art school. When I heard that I passed the entry exam, I was, like, upset. I was like, fuck this, you know?
Why?
Because I guess the entry exam, it was like a grueling 3-day trial by fire type of thing, right? So we had to spend 3 days in this hot-ass, like, printing room. Like, it was this huge, like, printing space, basically. They had tables set up for our department. And you're just sitting there with, like, 20, maybe 30 other people in this one room. Everyone is dead fucking silent. There's no one talking. Luckily, while I was doing that exam, there was another buddy of mine. He's like a graffiti artist. He's doing really well now. His name's Time. He goes by the name Time. He was there too, applying for the same course as I was. And I was like, oh shit, what's up, dude? So luckily we had each other, so we're just kicking ideas off of each other because we had to do like a short comic, and then we had to do a artistic interpretation of a Franz Kafka story of our choosing. And I think we could choose like The Roach or The Hunger Artist or something. And then you, of course, had to present your portfolio in front of the jury. You had 3 days to do all of this. The first 2 days are basically the testing, and the third day is basically like you get your results back. So luckily I had him there, and we were just like shooting the shit and walking around and having cigarettes and fucking going to McDonald's because there was one like a few 100 meters away from where we were, and we were just like eating lunch, shooting the shit, talking crap, like getting ideas across. And I like that, of course. But then when the jury came, I was, I'm sweating bullets. I'm fucking nervous. I have this whole portfolio, and in a weird sense, they want you to explain yourself, but then they don't want you to explain yourself. Like, they're very fucking annoying in a sense, you know?
Oh, yeah,
like, they prod and pick at you and all this other bullshit, and it's just like, you answer their questions and you try to give explanations. The one thing that really kind of like almost sent me into a rage, basically, was like, they said like, oh, you come across as like a car salesman. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, you want me to explain my shit or not? I should have been more like brazen with it, honestly, in retrospect, but that's of course like hindsight. But I was like, at that point, I was just like, look, if they're gonna be like this already during your judging process, and it's not that I don't mind criticism, but they weren't criticizing my art, right? They said my art was fine. They were criticizing me as a person. And I had a big fucking problem with that because, like, I was nothing but respectful to them. I try to be respectful to people. There was nothing wrong, but they were, like, breaking me down, basically, the whole time. Like, my art wasn't even the focus. They were, like, laughing at me and making fun of me and talking shit about me right in front of me, though I'll give them that. And I was like, if this is what it's like in the entry exam, I hate to imagine what it's going to be like when I actually take the course at school. I'll probably fucking hate this. So I was like, fuck it, I'm probably not going to get in with all the fucking negative feedback they've given me. But then I got in, and I was like so upset by it. I was like, I called my mom, and I was like, yeah, I got in, and she's like, oh my god, I'm so happy for you, because the only thing I need to do then is just like fill in the registration form and go in, right? But I was like,
Right.
yeah, I ain't fucking with this at all. She's like, what? You always wanted to like go to art school? I was like, yeah, no, I think I'm good on this one. I'll sit this one out. And basically, that summer, I had to fucking figure out real quick what I had to do with my life, in a sense.
Yeah.
And I went to a different college to become a teacher, basically, in arts and English. That was
Okay.
probably also fucking terrible. Like, I just didn't learn anything there. I didn't get along with anyone. Luckily, there was another classmate again from my old school there that was also a very talented artist named Nathan, who was a very good friend of mine too. But like, I was just like, it wasn't what I was expecting, I guess. And I just like, yeah, I was like, nah, you know what? Fuck school. I'm just gonna do my own shit, you know? So just started working at a factory and doing my art on the side, you know, and I was much happier then, you know, just doing what I wanted to
Right.
do. And I realized, like, okay, look, I understand, like, for some people, the academic atmosphere works very, very well, you know, to
Oh,
learn
yeah.
stuff. I have one of my best friends is a great artist as well. He thrives in that academic setting of learning shit, you know. I just like to do it on my own terms, in a sense, you know, like learning 3D modeling or animation or little character design or whatever. But it was just kind of like, you know, I just wasn't feeling it, and yeah, I just stopped and did my own thing, and fairly happy now in life. And I'm doing a lot better than a lot of my classmates who went to art school did, because a lot of them don't even do art anymore, you know.
Yeah.
The pretense was for shit
I,
with them, in a sense, you know.
I mean, I didn't go to school at all, bro. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I just had a different upbringing than a lot of people. Like, my lifestyle. I mean, I grew up in Fort Myers, Florida, kind of in a different type of situation, and so I always knew I was never going to college. Like, I knew that shit since I was like 8 years old. I was never going,
Yeah.
and so, and you know, I didn't even. I was always doing art though, like just all the time, like all my free time. I mean, I've done all kinds of art. I do music, drawing, digital, like video. I just did anything.
Yeah. That
But
was your escape, basically, or your outlet, in a sense.
yeah, so, but I never really. I always knew I was never going to school because, like, you know, I was just like failing school the whole time, and anyway, so, but my experience with art school is like, you know, I got out of high school and I just immediately started working landscaping, like cutting grass.
Yeah.
And just like, I found out quickly, like, if you took the labor jobs, they would start you at a higher pay than, like, if I was working at Dairy Queen, like a lot of my other friends. Or, like, the grocery, like, if you do the hard stuff, you get paid more. So I just started cutting grass and I was still making music, you know. By that time, I scored like an indie film, you know, Gothic King Cobra. I did
Yeah,
high
with
school.
traps, right?
Yeah, so I was just like high school, dude. I was just like talking to Trapped online and like, you know, just like living where I lived. And so sorry, I can't really draw and talk at the same time that
Nah,
much.
that's alright,
But
it's alright.
anyway, so high school, you know, I was like living my life, punk lifestyle, like family, school, weekends, going out to shows, you know, getting fucked up at a really young age. Then I would like come home from school and like work on my soundtrack for Trapped. So I never thought about college at all. And then I grew up, I started landscaping, but still like I did another soundtrack for Trapped. Got in touch with Sam Hyde. He was like, yo, can I use some of your music? I was like, sure, sure. He ended up putting that music on the show. Meanwhile, I'm still just cutting grass and shit. Like, I'm just, like, you know, by day I'm a construction worker, and by night I'm just, like, drawing and shit all the time. And, I remember, like, the show was about to come out, $1 Million Extreme, and there was, like, hey, yo, Zach, like, you do some weird drawings. Can we put some on the show? And I wasn't even taking drawing seriously at that time, you know. I was still kind of a dumbass,
Yeah.
just like living life. And so I'm like, sure. So then the shit got on TV, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, I'm 19, like I'm basically a construction worker, yet I'm getting like on Adult Swim. I got music on there. So that's when I was like, holy shit, I should start to take this seriously. Then some life shit happened, on some real shit, had some real struggles around that age with drugs and whatnot, but I was literally in a really bad place, and Sam Hyde was like, yo, like how much would it cost to quit your job and you do a comic book for me? And I thought about it long and hard. I thought about it. I was like, shit. I thought I was gonna ask for an outrageous number, but the number I asked, I was like, $2,000 a month, which at that time I thought that was a lot of money. I thought that was the most money I could think of, $2,000 a month. So he's like, all right, that's fair. I was like, really? Like I was shocked. He jumped on that. I was like, because to me that was a lot of money. And he's like, yeah, man, like just give me. So we set out a schedule. I started doing Jaihu. It's like a comic Sam wrote, and I was doing that, 10 hours a day, because it ended up being 300 drawings, and I would do 5 drawings per day
Shit.
for the next few months. But it was like 5. I would spend 2 hours on each one. It would be 10-hour days, weekdays. That was my schedule. And in that time, my drawings went from like some outsider like chicken scratch shit. Arguably they still kind of look like that, but I started learning different like patterns and shit. Like it wasn't a regular training, it was just the sheer amount of time. Because like I said, I didn't even take my work seriously, but now all of a sudden like people was like, yo, like this is a weird style, like you do a comic. So I'm just like a guy off the street doing a comic.
Yeah.
But I started like learning different patterns during that time, because that's what a lot of my work is. It's just really patterns. I don't really have like a trained eye for like like dimensions and stuff. I remember one dude tried to roast me and say I'm like pretty one-dimensional. It's pretty true, but this is outsider art, dude. I didn't have a training.
Yeah.
So I'm just like illustrating for Sam, and that's how I kind of got my name. Then people started seeing, and I got better over time. I've put a lot of time in, and that's what it all comes down to with this shit, is just pure time.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be more of an important factor in being an artist, is just having fucking time to do your shit properly.
Right.
I mean, I value time more than I do money. Honestly, like it's almost like a grind set entrepreneurial thing to say, oh, time's more valuable than money, but it kind of is, in a sense of like, if you want to do shit you love, well, one, you need money to do it, but the second thing is you need the fucking time to do it. So it's often like a weird balancing act. Back when I was working at the supermarket, like I would try to spend as much time as I could drawing, but sometimes you're just so burnt out on working this fucking whack ass 9 to 5, and you're not feeling the mood or the atmosphere for it. I did a lot of stuff in my time while I was working at the supermarket. Like, a lot of the Rave Shit franchise came out during while I was working, and like Dystopian Junglist Massive, like I made some on Best Tracks, but like at the same time there were just days where like I would just sit around and just smoke mad weed and just fucking stare at the ceiling or watch a fucking movie or play video games and not do anything, you know what I mean? A first-time chatter says, John Fedora, a Jaihu physical copy would be ace, he says.
Yeah, it just never happened like that. I don't know. I'm not really like working with Sam like that anymore. I don't really got beef with him either. Like, I think what he's doing right now with the fighting is actually dope. I seen that.
Yeah.
But it just didn't happen like that. I think like at the time it was released, there was just like, it didn't make financial sense. Like,
yeah,
some shit got fucked up with like the actual like graphic work of the book, just some like real behind the scenes stuff happened where it just like physically didn't make sense to release it as a physical, because we just didn't we worked on it for so long. He put in so much money just with me, the typesetter, the actual production. It just like took a lot of time and money, and it was just kind of like, yo, let's release this digitally, because he might have lost money probably if he was gonna release it physically.
Considering that he released the book How to Bomb the U.S. Government, which was a massive success for him in the run, because a lot of people are still desiring to have a physical copy and they go for a lot of money. and it went fairly quickly as well when it came out. Like, I know you had artwork in there as well.
Oh yeah, the art in there was like Jaihu drawings.
Yeah, so well, so that's where sort of like the Jaihu thing sort of kind of like ended up a little bit, was in How to Bomb the U.S. Government, then, I assume.
Yes, I mean, well, I mean it's still like a digital book that you can buy, and there's literally like 300 drawings inside of it. It's honestly like a pretty cool book, you know.
Yeah,
I like it.
I know there's another guy that's he's also a streamer who has written stuff that was in that book as well. So it's like kind of crazy how closely connected everything kind of is in that sense.
What's his name?
Marty.
Yeah.
He went by
no.
It goes by he goes by Marty Moinklers on Twitch. I don't know if he went by any other name than that, but he had some of his stuff featured in that book apparently as well. I should actually get the digital version, but I'm like a stickler for having physical media. Like, I love having physicals.
Oh, same. Well, dude, I honestly, like, I don't even think I own a copy of Jaihu, just because this. Well, I have a copy because I literally fucking made it, but
yeah.
I mean, I don't have a fucking. I didn't buy it because, yeah, I don't. I have all digital stuff too, or physical stuff. My bad.
Yeah. I just enjoy the idea of having physical stuff. Like, we talk a lot about, well, we talk quite frequently about like Feral House books and Adam Parfrey and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot more books of his that I want as well, you know. I already own like basically the Feral House Bibles, which is like Apocalypse Culture 1 and 2. We've talked about that before as well, you know.
Yeah.
But I own Joe Coleman's, like, actually kind of funny that I bring up Joe Coleman's Cosmic Retribution. He did the cover art for both the Apocalypse Culture books, and he's like a very good friend of Feral House. He did a lot of work for them. Now that I'm kind of like thinking about it, like looking at your very like sort of, I would say eclectic, very like very detailed, busy sort of like illustrations, remind me a lot of like Joe Coleman's artwork, if you've ever seen any of his work as well.
Yo, the illustrator for Apocalypse Culture, yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah.
He's really cool.
He's apparently from New York. He's like also like a very weird oddities guy. Did some like performance art shit in the 80s as well that got him in a lot of trouble in the Chicago scene for some reason. But I
drink right here.
Yeah, but I just like having just the physicality of things. I don't know what it is. It's just, there's something about it that I feel like I own this now and nobody can really take it away from me, in a sense, you know? It's like,
well, you know, I was like buying and selling books for a long time, and the idea behind that is like on some conspiratorial kind of shit, you know, like they don't even have to burn books like they had to do back in the day. You don't have to burn a book. All you got to do is just delete a page.
Yeah, exactly.
Like one of my favorite research pages on Instagram just got taken down because of whatever, you know. I like to own books because you can't delete them. You can't take them away. It's on my shelf. You can't take it. You have to literally take it from me. And information is power. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
The more information you have, the more powerful you are as a person. Got to use that power for good.
Yeah.
But
I tell these motherfuckers in my chat all the time, read books and shit. Like, I'm not even kidding, you know. They might think it's a bit you could argue old-fashioned, but like, yeah, no, knowledge truly is power, whether that's from different perspectives in a cultural sense, an academic sense, philosophical, doesn't matter, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, like, and the type of world we're living in now, they're really trying to dumb people down, and, you know, we live in a very censored world, so you might as well just have the physical book. I especially love books that are like 100 years old, because they're a lot different than books now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I like it when they bring back like forgotten or sort of like lost literature from like very sort of odd characters. Like, one of my favorite books I read this year, and people in my stream are gonna know what I'm talking about. It's called You Can't Win by Jack Black. You know what I mean?
What? Jack Black, the actor?
No. Funnily, it's pretty funny. The name of the guy was Jack Black, but he was like a vagabond. He was like a hobo, basically, back in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. Kind of a like heavy opiate addict, but he told like all of these stories of how he lived as like a vagabond, and like explained the whole idea behind yegs, which is like basically a term for like a traveling criminal back in the olden days, basically. They were talking about doing like vault heists and robbing people's houses and stuff like that. And it's insanely goes insanely in depth, but of course it starts off very idealistic, like how he loves the lifestyle because this was a time you could live with literally a few bucks in your pocket and you could like, you know, get a place to sleep and a nice suit and a good meal in your stomach for a week straight with a few dollars. Now it's like, you know, a few dollars doesn't even buy you a fucking drink anymore, like, in a sense. Right. But he talks about, just like for them, $100, you're living clean for a couple weeks, if not longer. If you're being frugal with it, you can live off of that for a long time in that era. And he was talking about that stuff, but of course, he got addicted to hop, so opium, and that was starting to like catch up with him as he was starting to age more. It has a good ending though. He eventually like kind of squared up, as they would say. You know, people interpret the idea of squaring up as starting to fight, but squaring up is also a term that Iceberg Slim used, where it means you're kind of just like Slim. Yeah, you're just integrating into regular society. Yeah, I've read Mama Black Widow is one of the most horrifying books I've read in my life, basically. I'll be honest about that. But it's a great book regardless. And then, of course, Pimp, his biography, insane stories. I start like, there's words that I remember that he says, you know, like when you say scratch or whatever, or
he's rapping to somebody.
Yeah, he's rapping. Yeah, he's talking about scratch, which is money, and then, or like he skull notes something. That's one of my favorites. You know, when you're just gonna remember something, he's just skull noting it. You know.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that I think is very interesting, and I feel like it plays an important part because I mean, at least in that whole pimping culture thing, you know, like the whole like, you know, velvet suits and hats and sort of like extravagant sort of way, like plumage sort of way of presenting yourself. Like Iceberg Slim was the one who actually was basically the founding father of all of that stuff. You know what I mean? And he basically it's just an interesting perspective. I just like reading about this perspective. Same way as like I can enjoy Burroughs to an extent too, like Junkie and stuff like that, or Queer, which are great books. Yeah, he's a very good writer. It does sometimes take a toll on you. Like I tried reading Naked Lunch in like a full sitting, as in like, you know, that's the only thing I was reading, but like I sort of got really, like I had this really weird sensation halfway through the book, and like not a very comfortable one. I think it's a good way, you know, that's his whole thing. There's no sense of comfort there, but I just had to like put that book away for a while and be like, okay, I'll come back to this when I'm a bit more sound of mind, because it was literally driving me insane, like literally. So I had to like step back from it, you know what I mean? But yeah, there's just, I think literature is a very important part of things, and we're not talking like when we're talking on your show about like you know, Harry Potter or whatever, like whatever, you know. No,
well, one thing, like how you say like money is not how it used to be.
Yeah.
I would argue, I mean, it's all about what you value in this world. For instance, like buying and selling books, you can actually get some really good books for basically nothing nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Manly P. Hall's Secret Teaching of All Ages. If I go to the right bookstore, I can find that thing for $10 or $15, you know.
Yeah.
I bought one for $5 one time, a copy of that book, and I always tell people like, I buy this book that literally has the teaching of all the world religions. It has so much information. It's an encyclopedia, and it costs $5. That's less than the price of a McDonald's meal, you know.
Yeah, it's
like,
insane.
Nowadays, money is weird, you know. Like another thing that I joke about with my friends is like, you could see like the hottest chick you went to high school, you could see her asshole for about $2, less than the price of a McDonald's meal, you know.
Yeah.
Like money is
it's a supply and demand thing, you know.
It.
Yeah, and it's also just the concept of supply and demand. If the supply is low and the demand's high, of course the prices are going to go up. But if the supply is high but the demand's sort of like meandering or whatever, yeah, value, like, especially if you're in a competitive market, like let's say the whole OnlyFans thing, right? If you're in a competitive market like that, like, unless you know you really are that bitch, the prime thing or whatever, yeah, you're gonna have to compromise in a sense of like it's a very demeaning industry. Don't get me wrong. It's very demeaning, but it's just how it is in a sense. Like it's the same with you know, if you're selling drugs on the street, like your fiend is gonna know where to score cheaper, regardless of quality. If they need to score, they'll score, and if you're not selling it to them, they'll go to someone else who's more willing to do it. You know, it's a sort of a similar thing. But like you said, books, old media, CDs, to an extent cassettes or vinyl, even movies, DVDs, VHS tapes. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can buy for, like you said, literally nothing. You can for $5, I can imagine I can walk out of my local sort of secondhand store. There's like one that sells like books and vinyls and like just kind of multimedia stuff. I can walk out of there with a significant amount of stuff like records and CDs and some books, for sure.
I mean, that's why I specialize in books, because you know I've been collecting them for a while. I actually remember Apocalypse Culture. I had some free time. I'm like, man, I don't really have that much money right now. What am I gonna do? So I went to this bookstore. I looked for something I can flip. I found a copy of Apocalypse Culture for like $10. I'm like, all right, cool. Sell it to one of my friends for $25. Look, I just doubled my money just because I know the value of things, and that's one of the secrets of life. You know?
Yeah.
A lot of people do it with clothes, but I think that's too easy and too flooded of a market. You know, everybody knows like what kind of Nike SBs are worth something, but
yeah, like
books, records, these are kind of untapped.
Even stuff
books.
like figurines and stuff like that. There's figurines out there that when they first came out maybe were like $50-$60, but as time goes on and there's more scarcity, they go up to like 100, 120, 150. I think it's because, you know, Apocalypse Culture 2, for example, is a great example. Like, there's not a lot of copies in rotation right now, and I bought mine straight from Feral House, and it was like just the last bit of inventory they had about it. I paid $80 for it. I just really wanted it, and I was like, I had no problem because I had some money from my paycheck, and I was like, fuck it, I'll buy it. It's no problem. I'm not really spending my money on anything else aside rent and weed, so I had like enough. I always had like surplus money left, and I had enough to spare to save, right? So I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll get myself. This is like this month's treat, you know. But now you look around, it's nobody's really selling it, but if you sell it, you can, if it's in a decent condition, you can get quite a nice penny out of that, for example. It's just, and like same with records, you know, like even with reissues, a reissue might not be worth something now, but maybe in 10 years down the line it might be, you know.
Yeah.
Empirical Audio asks, wondering if Zach still has The Way of the Chuag Shu. That printing is worth money now.
Oh yeah, James. Yeah, man, I got that book. I still have it. Like, you gave that to me a couple years ago when you sent back a lot of my stuff that I accidentally left in Rhode Island. You know, I appreciate that, and I still have that book on my shelf. I'll never give away something that a friend gave to me.
Hell yeah.
You know?
I've been talking with James a lot. Like, he's been showing me some of his stuff, and you know, we're sharing our music and just getting to know each other better. You know, he's an insanely friendly guy. So
yeah, he's good.
Yeah. He showed me some of the stuff he was doing now with Sad World as well. Very good stuff.
Noah Monk and them. Sad World is pretty cool.
Yeah, they still do stuff, and I watched some of the stuff that you linked, James. It was really good. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like when you were talking earlier about, you know, you're just a man off the street, outsider art, ended up in like a very, very, very let's say an advantageous position. Like you still had your talent, of course. I'm not taking that away from you or anything, all right? But like,
yeah, but it was like
right place, right time shit as well, in a sense, right? Whereas, dude, I've been fucking grinding for years, and it's only now that it's been sort of the fruits of my labor have only in the last, I would say, 2 years started to pay off, in a sense. You know what I mean? And because like that would be any dream position for any artist to be in if they get recognized from a younger age and they can get taken in a sense, you know, and that you can work that as a job in a sense, right? Just do art. That's what any young artist wants. And of course I was looking for that opportunity, and I was like, but now that I have better skill, of course I feel like that reflects, right? Even though it's kind of funny because I'm just drawing like a little fucking bunny guy on the screen, but like I think at that point I was maybe a bit too big for my own britches, but like Yeah, I couldn't find nothing. Shit was not going well, but I just stuck with it. That's how I sort of powered through and found my own way in doing art and music and stuff. I think with the music stuff is what really made it click in a sense for people, because like, I don't know, I was making music just for fun initially, but then when I saw people were like legitimately fucking messing with it and being like, yeah, this shit rocks, I was like, oh yeah, you know, there's something there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And yeah, and like you're clowning what you're doing right now. I mean, what I'm doing right now is crazy too, but that's the thing that I think scares a lot of people when they start is like, dude, I'm considered professional, and literally like still 90% of what I draw is absolute trash sometimes, but I'll never give up, and that's the difference between me and somebody else, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody else might draw something stupid and just like never pick up a pen again for like 3 months, you know? I'm just always at it, you know? This is just some bullshit off top.
Yeah, but that's always fun to do.
You just never have to give up.
Yeah, that's basically the bigger message, because I think also people enter into doing art, regardless if it's a hobby or a career, but if it's more of a career path, they're entering it with the wrong mindset. It's just something that you're sort of, okay, you can build a skill in it, like you learn stuff along the way, but there's just people that are sort of innately born of just like enjoying it, loving it, using it as a catharsis. But then there's people that go into the mindset of like, oh, I'm gonna make money off of this, I'm gonna become famous off of this or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, those people don't even know what's going on.
But and sometimes they kind of buck the trend and they might get successful, but the problem is that when that trend dies down, then what, you know? They're stuck in that sort of picture, that frame of that time frame of that sort of styling that was popular, but then they never really cared to evolve beyond that point, and then, you know, they've made their bucks and then they don't care anymore. It's kind of silly. Okay, so let's see what let me see. In fact, I have no questions asked because I feel like I already asked these questions before. Would you rather questions? So what's the point? Sorry, I'm just reading the chat real quick. So what's the point of repeating the same question again? Good idea. Okay, Sano asks, would you rather eat cake or drink a beer? Probably have a beer.
Me? I'll drink beer. I don't eat cake. I don't do sweets at all.
No, I'd rather have a beer, mellow out, you know. What kind of cake is it? Chocolate? Yeah, you guys get to choose cake. I don't want cake. I'm good with that. No, but yeah, feel free to ask questions in the chat for either myself or Zach, you know. These boys said fuck cake. Yes.
Yeah, I don't eat cake. I mean, I think if James is still here, he knows what my teeth look like. My shit is rotted out, you know. I still drink soda, but I don't eat cake.
Yeah, I have a sweet tooth sometimes, but it's very limited anyway. I just eat to sustain myself, you know, at this point. Bruh, they hate it. Huh?
I hate cake. I hate candy.
Yeah.
I hate pie. I hate all that shit. I like eating like fried chicken and a Mountain Dew. That's
I like potato chips to an extent too. Are you into that, or also like fuck that shit?
Potato chips, that's cool, but that's just like fake food to me, you know.
Yeah. No, but like proper meals, that's what you're into, you know.
Yeah, like I just had some chicken and scrambled eggs and vegetables, you know.
That does sound very fucking tasty. I haven't eaten yet, but I usually eat after the stream anyway. Because this is like my nighttime's my daytime, basically, so this is my morning stuff for me.
Right.
Roy, what kind of question is that? But I'll ask it. Would you rather be... Oh, shit. AF, thank you for the sub. Appreciated. Cake fund. Okay, thank you for the sub, dude. Appreciated. For 3 months already, man.
Bro. Like, I don't know why you're supposed to eat that on your birthday. I literally don't even get a birthday cake. Like, last many birthdays I have, I don't eat cake, bro.
Birthday chicken? That's where it's at more?
Yeah, I eat fried chicken on my birthday.
Hell yeah. I don't mind a birthday barbecue. That's what I like. You know, like ribs and steak and shit. That's what I'm into on my birthday. But again, thank you very much, AF, for the resub. Put a candle in a bottle of Mountain Dew. Yeah, you could.
Right?
Yeah, they could do that. Roy asks, would you rather be autistic or be schizo? What kind of a fucking question is that? But anyway, I'll ask it anyway.
Probably am both already. But, nah. I mean, probably autistic because schizo is really scary. I know real schizo people, and that's really messed up.
Because there's really, like... Because here's the thing. I think what happened is nowadays, a lot of people sort of, kind of... I'd say trivialized a lot of mental illness in a sense.
Yeah, people don't really know what real schizo is, bro.
No, like I can't speak for except for a few run-ins I've had with homeless people. I can only assume to have had schizophrenia or whatever. But like they're definitely not like always approachable and stuff. I think most people are like kind of more sympathetic or have this sort of view of schizophrenia because of people like Terry A. Davis and stuff like that becoming somewhat more of a character in the online sort of sphere. You know what I mean? But without realizing that guy, so Terry A. Davis, you probably heard of him, Temple OS guy, he suffered, like, mental illness fucked that guy into the dirt. And he was, the last few, like, months of his life, he was roaming the streets of Seattle, homeless, no place to sleep, like, fucking streaming on his phone and making videos, but completely off his rocker until he died, you know? It's very morbid, but people only see like he said N-word, CIA, glow in the dark, whatever funny stream things that he did and like this attitude that he had, but like he was really a very disturbed person, you know.
Disturbed person.
Yeah, but I'm very sympathetic towards him in that, like, well, empathetic because you know I was diagnosed with autism and stuff, but you know he's more schizophrenic, but still it was. I can understand why people think it's amusing, but once you really get the whole story in, it's really fucking sad. It's harrowing. I would say like if anyone wants to know about like how horrifying the Terry A. Davis shit really was for him, you should watch Frederick Knutson's Down the Rabbit Hole video. He did like a 2-hour video explaining in depth from when he was conceived to his early career to what made him popular, I'd say, to until his untimely death. Yeah, he made Temple OS. He was the main coder. He called himself God's programmer. That was the nickname that he sort of was given in a sense. So there's a kind of a cult following, but it's sort of entered like sort of the normal spheres of like mainstream in a sense a little bit. Like the same as like you have people like Chris Chan, for example, which I'm just talking about internet people, Zach. It's just like that these people that like
I know what this stuff is.
Okay, sure. I'm just yeah. Because I don't know, would you consider yourself because I'm a very online person in a sense. I'm not going to deny that. I understand that a lot of the shit I do is regarding around the internet, you know, like the digital space. So would you consider yourself like that as well or less, you know?
I mean, I definitely go online a lot, but the type of stuff I look at is so niche that it's like I listen to podcasts that have like 20 views. Yeah. And like I'm not really tuned into like what's going, like I don't play video games at all. The only game I still play is Animal Crossing for GameCube. Yeah. So I'm just like so like in my niche little zone that I don't really see a lot of stuff. So I'm like podcasts I listen to are like I listen to lots of religious people, I listen to lots of conspiracy people. Yeah. I'll be listening to like a Yale lecture from 1993, you know. And like I'm not even trying to say like that's cool or nothing. I'm just saying like that's just what I do. So I'm kind of tapped out of like the online world kind of. Yeah. But I still see certain things obviously because I am a young person on the internet, but I don't really like look at Chris Chan and whatnot. Obviously, yeah. I know like a decent amount about Chris Chan, but yeah, I wish I didn't.
The thing is it's just the reason I bring it up is because he's one of those people that sort of entered like the mainstream conscious in a sense. That's why I'm sort of bringing that up, you know, like
it's like why do people know about that?
Yeah, and I remember being there when like the whole when people started discovering Chris Chan and stuff like that. So this is like late 2000s, early 2010s. I'd say 2009, 2010. Like I was just a rapscallion on the internet at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too.
But around that time, especially because I was on Newgrounds, which it was just like the whole art community was there, and a lot of people I'm still friends with, like 5027 I met via Newgrounds. But Chris Chan was sort of like there was one of those characters that was just like people heard about him or saw a video of him, and it was like sort of amongst those people was sort of known, right? I would say though that when we first discovered him, yeah, he was, he's obviously an autistic person, very oddball character, has a sonnet
That's
thing.
like a fucking crazy person.
Yeah. But like I think what happened was because of all those years of being online and being basically fucked around with a lot by a lot of different people. Of course, there's people that fucked with him, but like there was no like ill intent behind it. But there were people that fucked with him in like a very mental and physical sense to like degrade him or to break him down or to like make him go crazier.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, like there were some things that were like amongst like the internet people of back then when you're just like you're on the internet and there's like shit posting and people being edgy or whatever. Yeah, there was stuff that was like seemingly harmless that wasn't really affecting him, and then there's stuff that like bled over to the real world that was kind of really upsetting. But that's just the whole Christian thing. I've already strayed so far away from our original point about this stuff. I guess I was just talking about how these characters just end up in the mainstream consensus, and they just trivialize it. It turned into memes and jokes and all this other shit, but without realizing like the whole backstory behind these people and like how fucked it sometimes is. Like the Christian story ended on a very, very, very dark note, basically, in the sense of like his.
And
go ahead.
He's kind of like. So Christian is kind of like a collection of like the most evilest tendencies in people, because that's what was put on him.
Yeah.
You're shaped by your environment, and I wish there could have been somebody who could have like cared for him better to like shield him from this shit, but it seems like from the story I know, like his mother's like elderly, and who else really did he have in his life,
Yeah.
He should have been shielded, because like the worst people you can imagine had such an effect on him.
Yes.
Like the most that's like incel like dark people, and like I really cut those kind of people out of my life.
Yeah.
Obviously, like dude, I don't know what it is, but like, I mean, I'm just gonna say this: the original MDE fans, a lot of those motherfuckers are like weird ass incels and shit, and like,
yeah,
so like caused me to like have to interact with like weird people, and those are like the kind of people who fucked with Christian. They're just like dark individuals who have too much free time.
Yeah, that sounds about correct, Like, I didn't, like, participate. I just saw it from a distance, because there was so much crazy shit happening on the internet anyway, in a sense, around that time. So, Christian was just one story out of, like, hundreds and thousands of stories basically being told from all these weird characters around the internet. Some a bit more, let's say, forgiving, or less, let's say, insidious. Other ones with very dark implications from the characters themselves. Other ones victims of these sort of like, what you could say, internet sleuthing, basically. And it's just kind of crazy how that's permeated even more in a sense nowadays. I mean, you have sites like Kiwi Farms and stuff. It used to have like Encyclopedia Dramatica. There were like message boards like on 8chan and all these other places dedicated to like kind of sleuthing into all of these people. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It still goes on to a very extreme extent. You know what I mean? It's still there. I mean, Kiwi Farms is just a modern iteration of that, as an example.
I think it's like a dark tendency that just has existed in human psyche since the beginning of time to like want to fuck with your fellow man, There's probably incels in like ancient communities too who, maybe they would just like kill people's oxes and shit behind, like, in the darkness of the night, just go around town fucking with people. There's always been incels,
Yeah.
It's just really annoying.
Freakish
I don't know why it is.
Freak weirdos. I know, like, that's not... I know you can say freak or weirdo in a non-negative term, but I usually say like freak weirdo as like a negative thing from people. Incels back then were Vikings, and they got sent into battle. That's a good one, Axel. Yeah. Shit.
Like, I'm just using the term incel because that's the term I use,
Yeah,
but
I have
like,
a couple other
really
terms I would use, but like I can't say it on the air because it's too hot for Twitch. Honestly,
it's not really even about the fact that they're not getting laid. It's like the type of person who's just like really negative and just wants to like sow dissent because they they don't put it into anything good. I
Yeah.
know people like that too. It's like I've seen incels online, like it's like, yo, like let's go swat this person. It's like, bro, why don't you just like learn how to fucking knit? Like, why don't you do what you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
We all have a gift that we're supposed to be exploring. God gave everybody a special gift. And you
Yeah.
have to find out what that gift is and do it. But trolling on the internet is not one of
Yeah.
those special gifts. Unless you're doing it in like a not harmful way. You know?
Or it's leading to something good, like if you're actually finding out like shit like pederasty rings or sadists that are hurting people or killing people or animals or something that are like clearly a danger to society. I feel like it's a bit more forgiving. It's one thing to fuck around with some weirdo on the internet, like just a guy being weird on the internet, right? It's not really harming anyone. It's just doing kind of odd stuff. That's like a bit whatever. But like if it's clearly like a person with very bad intentions that has a history of bad intentions, like Nick Bates or something like that, you know.
I don't know who that is.
It's Nick Bates is a very 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 disgusting degenerate of a man. He was a very gross individual in a sense of not only physically but mentally. He had a very, very bad fixation of stalking his ex-girlfriend, but he was also, as Fed Smoker would put it, a chimo. He did some shit with his niece, and then but he's in jail now. He's gonna be in there for a long fucking time. Anyway,
Yo, I want to say this really quick about Fed Smoker on air.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Yo, Joel was trying to make a movie on Fed Smoker and was like in contact, but unfortunately Fed Smoker has passed.
Yes.
But that was supposed to be part 3 of Joel's films, Trapped.
Oh yeah.
He had a Fed Smoker movie in the works.
Dang. I would have loved to seen it because myself and my buddies and all of them, we bring up Fed Smoker quite a lot and the sort of very eccentric individual he was, you know. In a sense, you could also argue, oh, he's crazy. Yeah, he was, but he was a very untethered spirit in a sense, you know, which was fairly interesting in a way. What's up? Hey, what's up, Kate Parker? Welcome to the chat. Thank you for coming in. Hey. How are you?
Yo, I love Cade Parker. I just met this person recently from Mia Low. And Cade sends me all these like resources, like, you know, like synthesizers and whatnot. And like, yo, Cade has helped me out a lot recently in that respect. Because I'm getting old now. I don't know how to download the newest synthesizers, but Cade always got my back.
Yeah, like VSTs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, Cade, everyone loves Cade. Yeah, Cade is starting to really like, from when we first saw him on our radar to where he is now, he definitely has like really grown a lot in the scene that he's in, especially at his age. It's kind of crazy how there's all these like younger dudes in the scene that are like just leaps and bounds ahead of like where we used to be. Like when I was their age, I was smoking weed and fucking around and not getting shit done, and there's like a whole new generation of people like under 20 that are just like insanely prolific in a way, you know. No, did I say she? I probably misspoke because that just happens with me. I slur words sometimes, so unless I said it wrong. But anyway, shout outs to Cade. I mean, a lot of people know. And then Mia or Brandon or Eva Boy. Yeah, also a very young individual. Also insanely talented, very diverse in their sounds. Like with Figure Skater as well. Like that's another one of their, I'd say, alter egos. I know the Figure Skater one pretty well because of I have an alt account, a SoundCloud one for SB404 beats called Goldbug. It used to be called Aylmer, but I changed to Goldbug, and we communicate on there a little bit, you know, and because we just like that sort of dirty, sort of like sidechain ducking, like hip hop beat shit, you know, like, and SB404 is just sort of like a cornerstone of that stuff, and it's kind of crazy just to see all these dudes. Like, there's another dude that we know called Fancy Fish. He also produces music under
I
name.
fucking love Fancy Fish. I don't know who that is, but I love their music.
Yeah, he also
I
goes by
listened to a
Mannequin
couple of his
05.
tapes.
Yeah, he also goes by Mannequin 05, which is more of like his techno, sort of like houseier stuff, right? Also, insanely young dude, but he was like, we knew him through another collective called Slut Tech. And those are like a whole, they came from another collective before that called Bluthat, which is like a Russian collective. And you had people like Roarcon in there and Ethan Bart and all those dudes. Eventually, I think Bluthat's just sort of like, I don't know, I don't think it's over, but it just kind of like, Bluthat. I think it means like criminal or thief or something in Russian, is from what Roarcon explained to me, but I could be also completely fucking wrong. But yeah, they've all moved on to doing like, they started making like what people call soul hop or whatever.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I like that kind of sound. It is like kind of tricky sound though.
Yeah, it's a lot of heavy sidechain compression and ducking that happens in that stuff. But I enjoy it too. And there's also like other people that we know, like Duro MKL. He's a very talented, funny guy, very funny dude as well. Like, he streams sometimes too. He does SP404 production streams and stuff. But yeah, there's that whole scene, and we sort of like, they were inspired by what we were doing with scumtapes, and we were like, are you kidding me? We should be looking up at you guys for what you guys are doing. Like, it's insane. But it's crazy, like, the people that come out of the woodworks to talk about scumtapes, or the people involved with it, or myself, and being like, yeah, you inspired me to get into music and doing art and all this stuff. I'm like, yo, that's fucking crazy to hear. Even still, you know, I get a message from time to time being like, yeah, I want to get into music production, or I've started music production because of you, you know? And it's kind of crazy in a sense. Because I wouldn't think of myself as like a as influential or interesting, but I guess, you know, people pick up on that energy, I suppose. The same with, like, why people are so attracted to the scumtapes thing is just because it really is just shit that we like, and we just kind of put it together, and that's just what it is, you know? There's nothing really else to that in a sense. We're just fucking around, really. And that fucking around, of course, I think people just like it because it's not taking itself all too seriously, you know what I mean? I mean, shit changes, of course, but, like, the approach to like graphic design or making music or putting together events or making merchandise or whatever we do, there's always an aspect of just having fun in what we're doing, you know? It's not like I'm sitting like, oh fuck, I gotta design something for my label or brand. It's like, I'll draw something and be like, oh, that'd be sick on a shirt or an album cover or like a poster or something, and then we'll work it into something that's coming up, you know? Like, oh, I got a tape, like, I got like 20 songs sitting around that I'm not doing anything with that I can release on a tape or an EP or whatever. And then I'll just make a cool album cover of a drawing I did or whatever. So it's also building a visual resource in a sense, of course, like, or like visual resources, like you have your library of shit you use, you know what I mean? I mean, people are attracted to weird, rad stuff. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a given. I think that's why someone like Zach, because we do talk a lot about you in a positive sense. Like, that's why I think a lot of people also just feel so magnetic towards your stuff, or like they feel so gravitated towards you because of just like, you just do what you want to do, you create what you want to create, and it's all from like your sort of mind's eye of what you're getting out there in your head, and all of these ideas and concepts and just whatever's inside of you, just kind of like letting it out. And I think it's just because
just
of the
doing anything.
Yeah, sincerity, just like you have these ideas, like you just work it out, you put it onto paper, and or in music form, you know, because a lot of people, of course, know you for your music and stuff as well. And I think that's always an admirable thing. I mean, we talked about that before. It's just like sincerity and all that stuff is like, I think that's what people attract people to art. Like Hopper1000 and Hopper1000 Radio, people are attracted to that shit or like listening to it because it's being sincere. You know, you're prodding and asking questions and really getting into like the mind of the people behind it, and with your art, like
that's what I try to do.
Yeah, and with your music stuff, you definitely also are exploring like a lot of fringes and ideas as well within, like, you know, pushing it to like, even again with what you say with outsider art, like pushing it to like outsider ideas within music, you know, because we're not classically trained in music either. Like I
No.
learned to make music just on my own behalf. That didn't come from me being like I went to school for this. That was just me having fucking fun. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but tell me,
Like,
yeah, tell me a bit about that. You know, I would like to hear about your musical process in a sense.
oh, music, it's really I mean, it just depends on the song, you know, but it's just like sitting down and doing it. Like, luckily, I think a big part of my process is that I've trained myself to really only enjoy things that are productive, which is really good. Like, I don't watch TV or anything. Like, instead of playing a video game, I'll be like, all right, let's make a UK garage song, and I'll just like I'll pick the genre, what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Unless it's just totally synth based, then it's just I start with the synth. But when it comes to like I'm making a beat or a techno song, a drum and bass, UK garage, or any kind of song like that, you know, I just sit down. I'm like, all right, let's work this out. But same with how I'm drawing right here, you know, I always run into roadblocks, but it's about sitting there and just doing it, you know. I think that's the creative upper hand that a lot of full-time artists have, is that they realize that it doesn't have to be good right away. Like, you just have to stick with whatever you're doing, you know, and commit.
Yeah.
It's the same as skateboarding. If you don't commit to what you're doing, then it's not going to be good, you know.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
you got to commit to every motion. And that's really my process when it comes to all kinds of artwork. It's just like doing whatever I want, you know, committing to it. Like, if I'm making a beat and it sounds like trash, before I just throw it away, I'll just work it out till it doesn't sound like trash anymore. And that's the same reason I draw with pen. Is like, if I do something and it kind of looks like trash, I got to figure out how I'm going to incorporate it. It's really unforgiving, and I like working like that.
I'll say with digital art, I do have the upper hand of like, if I don't like anything, I can just delete it. But you know, I usually go in with like a kind of a loose idea of what I want to achieve. You know what I mean? Of like what I want to draw, and then I just try to work it out. And the thing with digital artwork is you can make basically unlimited iterations until you get your idea 100% in order. But with doing traditional pieces, that's why with Doodle of the Day, I often utilize my sketchbook more, because I like to use markers and pencil and like watercolors and markers a lot as well. And for me, it's a way to get back to that as well, and doing that more often too. And you have your limitations within that, you know. You have to figure out sometimes if you fuck something up, or there's like an ink splotch, or there's something wrong with it, you have to figure out ways to incorporate or work around it, or hell, maybe it even fits the picture, like a happy little accident type of thing, you know, where it's like, oh shit, like it's a fuck up, but it works, you know.
And that's where, like, I think most good stuff comes, is happy accidents.
Yeah.
Like, that's where, with my music, I try to do a lot of weird sound design, and that can only truly come from just trying weird stuff, you know, and not being afraid to try it out. If it sucks, it sucks, but you gotta, like, at least see it through to the end before you decide if it was worth it or not. And most of the time it is worth it, because you probably learned something just in that session.
Yeah. I think people often have this idea of sometimes they add too much to it, you know? Like that's the biggest struggle I have, is like I feel sometimes like I add too much shit to my stuff. And other people say I don't, you know? It's like really weird, and it's like, fuck, do I have to add more to it? But a lot of the tracks that I love in electronic music and shit is sometimes insanely simple, and there's something to it that you like listen to it and you're just like, it's the, like, for example, this is like a Jeff Mills track or something, right? It's like you're listening to it and not a lot changes, but there's something about it like that's hypnotizing, or it puts you in like a groove or like a state. And it's a 12-minute track, but you'll listen to the entire fucking thing from beginning to end as well. There's something about it that there's a rhythm to it that just, I know it's understandable rhythm, like for dancing or whatever, like there's something about it that puts you in like a state, I'd say, you know what I mean? Like almost like a hypnosis, or like a lockstep or whatever. It's very weird how that works, but it works. And they talk about like if you find anything about how they make their tracks, it's like, yeah, it's just an 808 and a 303 and a little synth, and you're just like, you made that with just those three things in like a mixing board, and it's insane because it sounds like it's a whole fucking like universe in the track, and it's like, but I mean, sound design and all that stuff really does add to it, but it's just there's interesting shit like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I heard it was Theo Parrish said sometimes all you need is the kick, the snare, and bass line. That's all you need.
Yeah.
I'd like to try to experiment with how many tracks how can I make something that sounds good in as little tracks as possible.
All right. Roy has another question. He asks, what is the best VST you got your hands on? So like the synths you were talking about earlier with Cade. What was the one that really was like, what's one that's often in use on your, if you can remember the name or explain
Okay,
it.
I have two options, but these are both, I'm going to start out with the freest option. If anybody, people probably already know about this, but the artist Lego Welt, who's like a techno legend.
Yeah.
Lego Welt is like a techno legend from the 90s and maybe even 80s, but
2000s he was very active and did stuff with Long Island Electric Systems or Lies Records too. He's been around for a long time.
So Lego Welt is a legendary techno producer, and he has probably about $50,000 worth of gear that he's collected in all of his time.
Yeah.
And he was cool enough to, for all of his expensive synthesizers, he put them all up for free for download. Like, he made samples of each synth pad and whatnot. And so on his website, you can literally go to the synthesizers, and it's like $5,000 synthesizers that he just like ripped the samples from, and he put them up for free for anybody to use. And that's like one of the main resources I use for synthesizers. Yeah. Because I don't even own shit like that, but I still can get the sounds right off his website. So check out Lego Welt.
I think it's funny you mention that because I use so much of those kits as well that you've. For me, a personal favorite of mine when it comes to VSTs has to be the Korg Legacy Collection, the Korg M1 specifically. People saying Rave Generator. Rave Generator is nice if you're making like hardcore or gabber or breakbeat. Rave Generator is great.
Korg Legacy. The slept-on one is Wave Station. That's in the same
pack Wave Station is a pad monster. Like, if you were looking to make like very atmospheric pad stuff, it is the best. Honestly, it's so fucking cool. Wave Station's sick. M1 is like insanely in depth with all the sound cards. Legacy Cell's really cool. Like, you have the it's called Legacy Cell. That one has like a lot of really good bass sounds if you're like making speed garage or 4x4 bass line stuff as well, if you're looking into getting more into that. It's an insanely diverse kit.
The thing with the Wave Station is that you can go online and download people's synth packs. Yeah. And because it's existed, I mean, Wave Station came out in I think the 80s. I actually have a physical Wave Station right next to me right now, but it's broken.
Oh, damn.
But you could download different packs for Wave Station and get really, really unique stuff out of those.
Oh, for sure. I just used the VST version and it's amazing, you know, and I've used it a lot. Funnily enough, I got that I have a friend of mine from Sweden. He was also producing music on FL Studio, and he sent me that pack, that collection of stuff. I just downloaded it, and then for a while I wasn't using it because I had a hard time integrating VSTs into that shit. But eventually I was fucking around with some other, DAWs or digital audio workspaces, and I started using it with Ableton, and I was like, I was missing out on all of this, and I'm just using it constantly, and still to this day, I often use the M1 or Legacy Cell or Wave Station or whatever, because it's just they're so versatile in a sense, especially in the electronic music scenes. So I really, really enjoyed it. I think RaveGen, so there's this one called Rave Generator. It just is like a bunch of old school stabs from like old songs and shit like that, right? I would say it's a fun little piece, you know what I mean? Diva is the best plugin. There's another one I've been using recently called Vital, which is really good if you want to make like saw synths and mentasms and stuff like that. That's one I really, really enjoyed too. The same, Swedish man sent me the MDA plugin pack, very free and very functional. Yeah, I mean, shit, some people like to make music purely with samples, other ones like to use VSTs heavy. I think it's the same with the hardware versus software thing. I've had people like tell me like, oh, music like this can only be made on hardware because they thought it was made on hardware, like some of my jungle tracks, and I was like, dude, I made this track entirely in fucking Renoise, you know, like, and then they shut up, you know, because they think,
Right, yeah.
because some people have this misconception of like, you need the illest gear to make music. I talk about this with James as well. It's like, you don't need, you know, an entire Euro rack setup of stuff to make music. You don't need an Amiga computer or ZX Spectrum with a tracker on it. You don't need to fuck around with MIDI stuff. You can get into it. You can enjoy it if you're interested in doing that stuff, sure. But then you have to also deal with all the troubleshooting that comes with that. So nowadays you can do everything, what people would say, in the box, which is just in your DAW, and it's like, yeah, you can make shit sound like it's, you know, whatever, you know. Most of my shit has been sample based. I use Korg shit, but I mainly use the default effect VSTs with like Ableton or FL. You should play around more with using VSTs. I guess if your computer is a bit of a, because you can have like a shit heap computer that is not really good with that stuff. Chaos, I don't make music, Resident Sleeper. Like, well, there's a VST called Smackos Tape Station that goes very hard. Oh yeah, it's true. I should get that one actually. Yeah, but Legowalt has a couple of VSTs on his site too. No, but Legowalt's fucking insane. Apparently, I think because of all of the equipment he has, he started a museum, I think, as well, for just synthesizers, and I think it's in either Rotterdam or Amsterdam. I should look it up, because I have talked to people. There's one guy from Slovenia that we met in Croatia back in June called Fujita Pinnacle. We also met his friend Nice Trick, and we met the owners, sort of the label owners of Low Income Squad. All of this, very lovely people, by the way. Shout outs to all of them: Strahinja, CZ Check, of course, Nice Trick, and Fujita. But Fujita, actually, I was talking to him about Legowelt, and he was like, yeah, I remember Legowelt was in Slovenia, and like we were hosting the event, and we talked to him, and he's a super lovely guy. Like, he's apparently like super approachable and friendly, and he loves to like geek out about synthesizers. It's his whole fucking life. He enjoys it so much. So apparently just a very great guy, but I would love to visit the Legowelt Museum of Synths. I know there's one in Germany as well that's really, really, really popular too. So
yeah,
if you
I never have traveled outside of America, but I would go there.
Yeah, one day you'll be out in Europe touring the world tour, the Hopper1000 world tour, dude.
I am doing an American tour, November through January so far. You know, I'll be in Los Angeles all of November.
Yeah.
And then December, I'm going to jump around in January. Probably will continue a little bit longer.
Yeah, I saw Pusswhip was back in LA according to his stories. He's just fucking everywhere, that guy. One moment he's in Helsinki and then he's back in LA again as well.
Yeah, I'll see that guy. I just kind of figured out who he was recently, but he's got some really cool music.
Yeah. He's been following me for a minute first on SoundCloud and then eventually Instagram. I haven't really spoken to him in a while though. Not since the Speedsick thing, but whatever. That's in the past.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I just remember.
What Speedsick thing?
I was just like some fucking stupid beef over a dumb design that we had. They haven't talked about it really too much on the stream and stuff, but there was I made this fucking dumb design one morning, like sleep drunk, and it was like the Grateful Dead head on the bear's head on like the Hatchet Man Juggalo body. I just made like a little joke, but I just made like a little joke design, right? But apparently Speedsick has a design that's already similar to that. I didn't know about this, but I just posted it as like a haha, should I put this on t-shirts? Like, not even saying I'm gonna put this on t-shirts, like, should I put this on t-shirts, right? And then Pusswhip commented being like, I mean, Speedsick? And I was like, I didn't even know what the fuck he was talking about, honestly. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know. I've known who that guy was for a while because of he works with Julian a lot.
Yeah. So what happened was, I didn't know who Speedsick was at that point. I've heard him here and there, and again also like he probably was like in that sort of similar scene to Julian. But apparently he did that design before it. It was for him. It was like the full bear with like Juggalo makeup on and like holding the hatchet as well. I didn't know about this. I put it up, and then he sort of made a very scathing story, like real thing, basically calling me like I'm ripping him off and shit. You know what I mean?
It's always, as an artist, it's always so hard not to do that, because I've been wanting to do that about somebody recently, and I'm like, hold back, bro. Like, you got a good reputation for not starting beef. Like,
oh yeah,
you know that. I think all artists kind of have that inside of them. It's kind of a bad side of people.
The thing is, I can't make assumptions. I'm not in his brain, right? But like, the whole thing of like, you know, I think he expecting me to like start shit with him. Like, I just said like, oh, my bad, and just deleted the post. But he was acting like, I don't know. This is how I interpret it, because I interpret shit differently, because I'm not the greatest at communicating, and also reading a text message is not the same as like actually talking to someone, right?
Right.
And I sort of like interpreted him being like kind of like, I guess, you know, like kind of in this kind of bratty sort of tone, being like, yeah, I guess you apologize, or I guess whatever. But since then, I've been like insanely fucking like bitter, like
You.
like yeah, like a little like towards him. But I haven't talked to him. Like, don't worry. Like I just stay out of his fucking lane. You know, I was like, I talked to my friends about it, and I was just like, I was honestly, after that I was seething, basically, because it was just like basically encroaching on like me making a mistake of a fucking. Here's the thing, right? Grateful Dead is a world famous band. The Hatchet Man logo is super well known, right?
It was bound to happen.
Yeah, I mean, hell, there's probably some fucking kid right now in Akron, Ohio, or somewhere in the Midwest who's probably got that in a black book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't know about that shit, and I was like, whatever, haha, seems like funny to me, but I just thought it was, I'll admit I was bitter about it, but I thought also it was kind of petty on his part that he just didn't DM me and be like, hey, I already made something like this, and just instantly just put it in the public to like scrutinize me. And I was just like, it's something that really irks me. Oh, yo, what's up, Palace Moth? He's here, dude.
People are like that. What up?
Ikiru is here, dude. Oh boy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I was initially very, bitter about it, but then I realized, like, you know what? He can have his fucking design. I can draw my own shit. Like, what does it matter? You know?
You can, dude. That's the thing. It's like, I've wanted to start beef with many people.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, just being honest, but at the same time, you just gotta make something else. Like, that's, if you truly believe that somebody is just a copycat, if you truly believe that, then that means they can't make their own shit. But the thing with me is, I can make my own shit whenever I want. I could draw something right now. It's dope as fuck.
Yeah, I was like, whatever.
What can I do right here?
Exactly.
This is my new design. It's called Girl Bird, right?
Hell yeah. Man, yes. People seem to really. This setup is really fucking good. It's great that this works.
See, you could just make anything you want out of fucking thin air, you know?
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing too, to get a little bit spiritual, is like, as artists, like, these ideas don't really come from, like, they come from like God almost. They come from like the source, the earth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I'd say
So, like,
the mind's eye, in a sense, and stuff like that. You know, that's what I often think about.
So it's like these ideas that we have are not even ours to even like take ownership over. They're God's ideas, or, you know.
Hell yeah. Dunn's dog in the chat says, nice bird. He likes it.
That one? Yeah.
Zace.
It's just, you know, we can just do anything, you know, like.
Yeah,
get that shit up.
But I think that's why it's like, you have people in the creative scene, and there's no names I need to name, but it's just like an archetype I've noticed, right? There's people just in the scene in general that are just like, you have people that create and like really care about the craft of what they're doing, and then there's people that sort of just like, I feel like, romanticize it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a way, and like just a lot of romanticization and sort of like Oh, what do artists do? Oh shit, Free Needles raid. Yo, Free Needles, thank you so much for raid. 28 people. Holy shit. Well, welcome, Original Pound. Thank you for the raid. Yeah, we just got raided on the stream. Thank you for.
That's cool.
Yeah, so shout out to everyone. Today we're having a bit of an art stream. I'm here with a very special guest, Hopper1000 from Hopper1000 Radio. For people that are new here, welcome. I'm Moms. This stream is usually called Straight Dummin. We do music production, art stuff, maybe a little bit of gaming, but usually just hanging out and talking about art. How's everyone doing tonight? Boobies raid. You guys came in at a good time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was the stream, by the way, Free Needles? What were you playing today, my guy? Yeah, he's also a streamer, by the way. Axel, could you give him a shout out in the chat too, by the way? Could you write a exclamation point shout out as well, by the way? That would be a very, very appreciated. Thank you very much. Go and follow him. He plays a lot of retro games. Very funny guy. Very mellow streams. Anyway, yeah. Where were we? Sorry.
We were just talking about like taking ownership over ideas. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, like people try to like control everything. You know, like they could draw fucking. Like these ideas, these symbols are ancient, dude. Like you draw a bird.
Yeah.
You know, like people try to like take ownership. It's like my bird. It's like no, it's like.
It's
these ideas belong to everybody.
Yeah, it's a bird.
It's just about how you utilize them. You know, it's like the almond break.
Oh,
Imagine if the almond break is used in like 50,000 songs. Like, imagine if the dude who actually played those drums was like, "You're stealing." It's like, no, it's transformative.
That's a big thing that I stand for, is the idea of transformative art and stuff like that. I'm a very, very... It was alright, man. We were playing a big game with the year thing. Disco Elysium. It actually lives up to the hype. Oh, that's good to hear. I heard a lot of good things about Disco Elysium. Yeah, but anyway, back to the topic. Like, I'm a very staunch believer in that whole... The idea of transforming... previously released media and ideas, right? Like, with hip-hop... with drum and bass, with a lot of sample-based music, the whole idea is that it's transformative, that you are building, you're just basically remixing or reutilizing something old, right? It's the same as like, how would I say it? Like using older tools for certain jobs or whatever. Nah, I created the almond break, motherfuckers still haven't paid me yet. Yeah. Someone in the chat like that. Some goofball, Sano in the chat. AKA Goku. Yeah. Shoutouts to Goku in the chat.
No.
Yeah, but
I wanted to start beef with somebody recently though, and I'm gonna just say this because I will stoke this beef a little bit. Some guy has 1,000 in his name, and I'm not claiming 1,000. I'm not the first 1,000 ever, but I will tell you this: 1,000 has a special meaning in Florida. Okay, and that's where I was born. That's where I grew up. So when I have 1,000 after my name, it's for the reason that I'm from Florida and I'm representing where I'm from. So why is a guy from New York City or Los Angeles or wherever the fuck he's from, why does he have 1,000 if he's not from Florida?
Yeah, it's faking the funk a bit, right?
That's all I will say about that.
Yeah,
and
it's
I won't even say who it is. Just look out for a person named 1,000 if they're not from Florida.
All other artists... Needle says all other artists have to stop at 999.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
That'd be...
It's like the same thing. 300 is Chicago shit.
Yeah.
Florida has 1,000.
We say I just have my own. Sometimes I'll make reference to 9900 because that's like where I live here. You know.
Yeah.
So don't go to Florida. 1,000 not from Florida. Watch out. Be careful, dude. Are you living in a 1K area? Because that's the thing. It's just for some.
Nah. Dude, it's not even a territorial thing. 1K means real. It means official. And it's been a Florida thing for a long time. It's just like 100, but 1,000. And Kodak popularized it around the rest of the world. But when you have a 1K in your name, it signifies that you're usually from Florida. It's like official. Like my name is Hopper 1000, real or official.
Yeah, you're not faking the funk. Yeah, I mean the thing is, I remember it's a similar story. It's like the whole thing of for example, well, I don't mind the idea of different sounds and styles of music kind of permeating, but there's also a thing of like people during the ASAP sort of era with also Raider Clan happening. Yeah, that a lot of the styling of that whole like Raider Clan SGP stuff like got sort of adopted by, if to say at least, like some people say ripped off, but I'll just say adopted by a lot of the East Coast people, right?
Yeah.
What would be your stance on that? Because I don't know, like I know SGP is a very also troubled individual, right? He has his own issues and problems, but an insanely creative person as well, like very good producer. And
I mean, I was lucky enough to grow up like literally on the outskirts of Raider Clan, you know? I ran into a few of those guys back in those time periods.
yeah,
Like, you know, I ran into Denzel Curry multiple times, and I literally grew up on the outskirts of it, and it was so amazing as it was going on, because as it was going on, you know, like that was back when Odd Future was blowing up, and it was like, you know, I was a teenager, I was like, that's cool, but then to see these people's like literally one town over doing all that, it was so cool.
yeah,
Obviously for that reason, I was like full-blown Raider Clan when it came to the beef, because I literally saw it happening, you know, and they did steal a lot of those terms, you know.
yeah, and it's also it's sort of like a local one. It's like you can argue it's a local pride thing as well, and two, it's also like, I don't know, ASAP at this point was already like a bigger entity, and it just felt like they were kind of trouncing on the smaller guys, you know, like of course.
That is what they did.
So, I mean, not that I hate the entirety of ASAP, right? Like, I like some of Ferg's music or whatever. I've never really been into Rocky or whatever. But, yeah, I felt like it was just kind of like they happened to be very, very friendly with, like, a closer clique of people. Like a very close with, like, ASAP had the popularity, but I think Raider Clan had the flavor, in my opinion. And, I think they just sort of, like, they transplanted the coolness of what Raider Clan was doing into whatever ASAP was doing. But ASAP was all on that, like, yeah, what's that brand called? It's not Pyrex. That's like that's the glass brand. There was another, like,
it was Pyrex. It was Pyrex Visions.
Yeah, like that stuff, or of course Supreme, and yeah, like that whole, like, sort of, people would say like a sort of a swag era as well, like the whole NYC thing. And I don't know, I liked the Raider Clan stuff way fucking more back then anyway, you know? It wasn't all about that shit anyway. Like, whereas you look at, like, ASAP stuff, it's all, like, designer clothes, streetwear, nice fucking J's or shoes on your feet. I wasn't really into it. Who else had a Tyler, the Creator phase? I did, fuck.
I did.
I had it too, yeah. Look, I was really into Bastard and the first Earl tape, and, I think eventually somewhere after like Boglin or Goblin, Goblin, I sort of started listening to him less and less and less until it just eventually faded out of my system. So that's just how that was. I just, you know, you start listening to different music and you grow up a bit more. But look, hey, I'm not gonna knock it. The Earl shit was really good, and I liked Bastard a lot. It was a fun listen. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, like I've actually tried to bring that back on my radio, because, like, you know, Mellow Hype was so good. That was Haji Beats and Left Brain. That was a real good duo.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the stuff Earl did still is standing solid. Even Tyler's, you know, Bastard was pretty cool. You know, it's so funny when, like, really cool shit, once it becomes uncool, everyone pretends like it doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, no, I still like. I don't really listen to it anymore, but I do remember, like, when Bastard came out. This was right before Ex-Military sort of blew up as well by Death Grips.
Yeah.
Boglin, lol, you watching too much King Cobra JFS. I haven't in a minute, actually. Boglins. Now, Boglins is something completely different, honestly. But, no, yeah. I do remember, like, listening to that specific tape a lot, and like you said, Mellow Hype, or Mike G even to an extent too. Like, nobody really brings him up as well. Surprisingly enough, that early stuff, like that early blog mixtape stuff, like you could even say like late stage Dat Piff to an extent, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of really good stuff on there as well. Still, it's still around. You can still go to Dat Piff today and find a bunch of free mixtapes, and probably find some really, really, really interesting shit. You know.
I'm getting a call from a stranger.
Oh shit.
Okay. No, but oh, I still listen to a lot of that old school stuff. I try to play it on my radio all the time because, you know, that's just what I grew up on. So I like playing it.
Yeah.
I just revisited a lot of Odd Future recently, and I was like, dude, this was so cool. I remember listening to this shit riding my bike, and you know, if you want to look at some old Raider Clan stuff that a lot of people don't bring up anymore, Denzel Curry had a tape called King Remembered. I remember it, dude. I was in high school when all that came out, and it was just amazing. Because I mean, I could listen to that, and then I'll go to Miami, see some of those guys, and be like, damn, this shit is really happening. And it influenced everything that's going on now, you know? I wouldn't have known what SoundCloud was if I didn't grow up listening to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I had to discover all this shit through the internet.
Life.
Yeah. I had to discover all this shit through the internet myself because, you know, there isn't really much of a scene like that here to speak of. Here it's more like electronic music, right? Like drum and bass, dubstep, techno.
That's awesome, though. I always wanted to see that, but there was never any shit like that when I was growing up.
For me, that was just a regularity here, you know. I think it just, of course, the environment you grew up in can dictate a lot, but it wasn't like I had to find out about like a lot of hip hop or rap music through media like video games or going on random message boards and looking at shit, or like hardcore punk and grindcore and power violence stuff. I had to find all that shit through just sleuthing, really. But
yeah,
I don't really have that in other places, you know. Like that's not really. There is a scene here, of course, but it's so small, and I didn't really have access to people that were part of that sort of scene, you know. Like even though there's a lot of metalheads in Europe, but they didn't really fuck with a lot of grindcore. They really like they're more death metal and more like melodic metal or whatever the fuck. Like I wasn't really into like stuff like I don't know. I'm not really into stuff like Dream Theater and Camelot. It ain't really up my alley, you know what I mean?
that was always like kind of sus. Dream Theater is sus.
Or yeah, it's just like all this singing songy stuff. I wasn't really vibing with it, honestly. So, but there was a lot of course, you know, death metal and shit like that. Listen to a lot of that stuff, you know what I mean?
I mean, like I said, I was lucky enough. I grew up in the hub of death metal itself too, you know.
Yeah.
Like my first girlfriend, her father did all the album art for Death.
Oh shit! Like yeah, spiritual healing and leprosy and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like so.
I love the spiritual. I love spiritual healing. People say that's their worst album, but I think it fucking rules, honestly. You know.
Yeah. And I told you, I grew up with the singer of Infant Annihilator too.
Yeah.
Back in middle school. You know, it's just Florida is a hub of like
Death
really
metal
crazy
stuff.
art
Yeah.
and music. I mean, it started in Florida.
Yeah, it's I think it's kind of insane. You know, it's the same if here it's more like a lot of wavelengths overlapped. Like when Acid House, for example, became a thing in the UK, there was already a scene in Belgium called like New Beat happening. And then, of course, in Germany, they had, like, their whole thing going on. In France, had their own thing going on. And it's kind of funny how, with genres like, let's say, metal or hardcore punk, it usually has, like, a place of origin and then it bleeds out from there. But, like, with electronic music specifically, techno, house, whatever, I think there's just sort of, like, this weird consciousness thing of, like, oh, people like to have that lockstep rhythm of, like, a 4x4 beat and fucking around with like a synthesizer on it and being like, yeah, people can dance to this, you know. So, yeah. But with death metal, it's like, yeah, they have their origins or styles that really do fit the area and shit like that. Same with black metal, right? Like the origin of that stuff is like Scandinavia, Norway, those areas. You know, there's a lot of classical bands that come from there, you know, and
yeah.
There's and that also has its own atmosphere of like darkness and misanthropy, and of course they're all into the whole satanic thing because most of them were teenagers and stuff like that, right? But it's still, I think it's fairly interesting in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That all that shit kind of happened, and but still, it has its origin there. But with electronic music, it's like it was happening in Detroit and New York and Chicago, but then it was also happening in the UK. It was happening in Belgium. It was happening in Germany. It was happening in France. It was happening everywhere. You know, like a good example of that is like R&S Records. That's a Belgian label. They also have a sub-label called Apollo. They used to release music from people from fucking everywhere in the world. You know. Like Japanese producers to fucking American producers, the east to the west, they had all of the insight into that.
We're getting back to that now. I mean, aren't you in Belgium? And right now I'm in Texas.
Yeah, exactly. The world has surprisingly become a much smaller place because of the internet. It's become much easier to communicate, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do this, what we're doing right now. It's kind of crazy if you put it in that perspective, right? And I that's why I'm personally such an enjoyer of the internet shit anyway. It's just like, I have one of my best friends, like he's in the chat right now, 5027, Axel, like, me and him, we met through, you know, hanging out on Newgrounds and just being into similar shit, and yeah, eventually we just became boys for life. And it's kind of funny that like literally this year was the first time I've ever met him in person, and it still like felt so normal to me. Like since I've known him for years, it just felt like it was normal to see him, you know, and like it didn't feel weird, like, because with the whole thing of like closing the gap between like online sort of like friendships and then having that translate into the real world is a lot of the times that can lead to very, very wild and sometimes bad situations. I have heard from a couple of people horror stories. I have one of my own that I've told in the chat a couple times.
Tell it, bro. What happened?
Yeah, so there's I mean, I should tell him the story. I don't want to give away the context. I'll call him I'll call him MGB. There's a guy that we call in here called MGB. So back in 2016, this was a few months before my mom got remarried to my stepdad. There was this guy we knew. I'll call him, I have to give him a name, but like, he was this kid from Latvia that I had also known for a couple of years prior, right? We hung out almost every single fucking day. We knew each other fairly well. He was a bit of a like, let's say a shithead, but I got along with him very well. And then like in 2014 he disappeared for a year, came back in 2015, and his attitude had really, really changed. So it was, I don't know, he used to be like a little, like I said, like shitster, edgy guy, and then he sort of became like a little bit of a tone policer, like, oh, you can't do that, you can't say this, you can't do that kind of guy, you know. I'm from Latvia. That's what Kayamas says in the chat. Yeah, but anyway, this is not a showing of people in Latvia. I assume a lot of people there are great, but this guy, oh boy. So earlier,
you're European.
Yeah.
I almost said, is Eurotrash bad to say?
I don't mind it. You can call me Eurotrash all you want.
Because my best friend's from Lithuania. I always call him Eurotrash. You know.
I think I have to give more props to the Eastern European community, though. Those guys fucking rule. They're super friendly compared to the West, honestly.
Because, my homie, he had the craziest mix. He's from Lithuania and Florida at the same time. That's a psychotic mixture. Yeah,
that sounds crazy. But anyway, Matt,
tell me the story.
MGB. Right, we'll get to why it's MGB. It's a short thing for something. So, beginning of 2016, it's like early 2016, he's talking about constantly being stressed out and needing to leave and wanting to leave because he feels like the environment's closing in on him. And I told him, hey, look, if you need to take like a break from your shit, like if you can at least, right? Like if you have any responsibilities, do that first. But you're more than welcome to come stay at my place and just sort of unwind and like chill, you know? I'm usually have a very open door thing. Before that, in 2015, this is a small side thing, I met up with a guy that I also met on the internet in London, and that was a very good experience, at least in my eyes, correct? So I was like, okay, it's like I've done this before, it shouldn't be too weird in inviting someone from inviting someone from the internet over to your house, right, that you've known for years. So I didn't think he was going to take me up on the offer. Because like, it's not that easy.
Say shit.
I wasn't just saying shit. I was still sincere about the offer, but I wasn't sure if he was going to take it. But like, he was like, at first he didn't say much, but then after I was like, can I still take that off? I was like, yeah, sure. And literally a week later, this was in March of 2016, he was at my door. I thought he was going to stay for like maybe a week or 2 weeks. He stayed for like an entire month, right? At first, shit seemed to be going okay. You could clearly tell like he was autistic, a bit awkward guy, you know what I mean? But he seemed to be slowly coming out of his shell more. He was talking to me and my sisters, and we're eating dinner together and stuff, and everything went pretty well initially. You could glean from him he was a bit of an oddball, but not really a bad person. And I'm not saying he's a bad person, but like definitely has his issues, which we'll be getting into. So the first week was fun. We went to the woods on our bikes. We walked around. We talked about random shit, you know. And then the second week started, and there was a terrorist attack in our country that happened.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Hey.
It was a
That's weird, man.
So the second, not to say that it was responsible, but the second week he was here, there was a terrorist attack that happened. There was a bombing in a subway near the United Nations headquarters in our country, and then there was a bombing in the airport as well, our main hub airport. So he all of a sudden, like, I remember the morning it happened, I was sleeping, I was lying in my bed, and he wakes me up and he's like, hey, there's a terrorist attack. And I was like, what, where? And he was like, yeah, there was a bombing at the airport and a subway station. I was like, oh shit, you know. But the time afterwards, he quit. Like, that's a whole story on its own. I know people that live in Brussels where it happened. That I'll talk about that a bit later. But like, he sort of all of a sudden became like hyper paranoid that like he was gonna fucking die here and shit, and like that he was being poisoned and everything was poison and everything was unhealthy.
So this dude basically has schizophrenia.
Either schizophrenia, but I have another interpretation about it. We'll get to that. So, and all of a sudden he constantly, like, he barely ever left the room because we had a spare room on our floor that we live on, and he was slaying in that, and he was barely ever leaving the room. And every time I suggested him, like, hey, let's go out, you want to go and do this, you want to go do that, he was insanely disinterested and kind of rude about it.
I don't know where this is going.
Yeah. Kind of. But he would come and hang out here when I'm in my room in the evening, just kind of chilling out, right? Like, I don't know, watching the show, or I'm fucking drawing, or whatever. He comes in here, hangs out. Yeah, sure, whatever. But he started acting very weird, like, like, I remember one night, I was just about to go to bed, and he was like, oh, I don't feel so good. Like, I feel I'm gonna die. Can I sleep in your bed?
Wait. Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
That's when you say, get out right now. You go American History X on him. You say,
I was like, huh? Okay.
This is
like,
not welcome.
But I was like, huh, what? I was like, oh, please. I was like, whatever. I don't give a shit. And I slept on the floor. And then, like, 4 hours later, he was just like, okay, I'm good, bye.
And you never saw him again, or what?
No. Yeah, he was still in my house at the time. Yeah, of course, I still saw him.
Shit.
You know, he was still here for, like, another 2 weeks after. Like, I think he was trying to pull some shit. I'll get into that, whatever.
Gay?
Yeah, probably. But, it kind of gives it away, because the climax of the story, as some of you might know, is very something else. But anyway, as time went on, sort of this relationship, this friendship, this sort of like having to deal with this guy and living in our house was becoming more and more strenuous. Like, because he thought he was sick and like dying all the time, he started eating like raw garlic. I know garlic has, you know, health purposes and stuff like that, but he just ate raw cloves of garlic the whole time, and
that's weird.
The entire floor we were sleeping on smelled like fucking garlic the whole time. And my little sister's room was right next to the guest room, basically. And, oh, God fucking bless my sister for her patience, because she had to smell that shit, like, all the fucking time, right?
Every day.
So, yeah, every day. My sister was getting fucking sick of this guy. If she could, she would have kicked him out himself. But, like, of course, it's kind of rude to put this guy out on the street if he has nowhere to go, right? My mom's the same way. My mom's very patient with people. Even she was like running at her ends wit towards the end of the month. So we'll skip forward to the last week, because it's just kind of like shit got weird. The last week we kind of went back to the woods again, which we started on our first week. But I was so over this guy at this point, and he was whining and nagging and bitching about the bike he was on, which was the bike he used when he initially got here. All of a sudden, this bike wasn't good enough for him. I got so... Oh, shit. Yo, thank you for the follow, John Fedora. Really appreciate it. Hope you're... hope you enjoy.
Fedora.
Yeah, thank you, John Fedora. This is Straight Dummin with special guest Hopper1000 tonight. Anyway, so I was super pissed at this guy because he was just being so whiny about everything. I was just like, oh, God. And, like, I remember we were at... So there's this long road that leads to the parking lot, and then you have the woods, right, where I live. And there's just this middle stretch that's for bikes. I remember when we hit that part, just as we were coming in with our bikes, I just fucking straight bolted, right? Because I just needed to get the fuck away from this guy for a minute. So I just got on, like, on my bike, go super fast. And I get away from him for a while. I'm just like, take a breath, because I was so frustrated with this fucking dude. I was just like, Christ almighty. But then, like, 10 minutes went by, and I was like, where the fuck is this guy? So I got back on my bike and biked back, and apparently the chain fell off his thing. Doesn't know how to put a chain back on a bike, which is literally just, like, pick it up and put it on. So I had to do that for him. And I was like, Christ. So we had to bike back together anyway. So we started walking around. I'm very tense. I'm not in a very, let's say, good mood of hanging out with this fucking guy. Like, for the last month, he was being rude to my sister, being rude to my mom, being rude to me, being very weird with me as well, in a sense, right? So I'm just putting on another mix in the background. We're listening to Luke Slater mixes tonight. So we were at this little pond. We're sitting there, and I'm just like so frustrated with him. I'm just like, are you enjoying yourself here? Like, what's the problem? You've been like acting like very weird with me. Like, what's up? And he starts giving me all this bullshit excuses of like, school's not going well, and work, and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, yeah, but that's no reason.
Hey, he's in school too?
Yeah, he was in school.
How old is he?
He was around the same age as I was at that point.
So he's in like college or something.
Yeah, no, he was. Yeah, sort of. It was just weird, right? I think he was just finishing high school. I think even, or was just like going to like not trade school, but just like a weird sort of like online, offline. It's just sort of like a thing that has like whatever. I don't know what it was, but he went to school. I didn't know much about it. I didn't like ask too much, right? So. Yeah. I told him, like, what's your fucking deal? Like, what's your problem? You've just been acting like a shithead the last couple of weeks. And he's like, oh, terrorist attack. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, I feel sick. Oh, my mom and dad. Like, all the typical shit. Like, oh, my life's terrible and everything sucks and it's everyone else's fault but mine. And I'm dealing with it type of thing. And it's just like...
incel shit.
Yeah, I just told him, like, look, dude, like... whatever is whatever. Like, you can have issues and problems, but instead of whining about it and bitching about it, like... there's ways you can fucking work through it without being so basically disgruntled or like taking it out on other people because you're gonna push people away. I was just like super mad at this guy, and he was like whatever, and I was like just mad at him for just being so ungrateful and so mean to my family. That same evening we went. I think this was the night. No. Okay, yeah. This now we're getting into the now we're getting into the what he's called MGB in the chat. So. It was, so the evening before he left, no, this was 2 days before he left, we went to a Chinese restaurant. He paid for the food, but like paid more so for himself than for me. He was like, oh, you can only buy something under this level of money. I was like, okay, sure, whatever. Like, this was his nice, gracious act, right? And I was talking to him like, so what are you going to do when you get back home? Like, what's your plan? And he just straight up told me, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to sit around and wait and hope that someone will pick me up and do something. I was like, that's not realistic at all, dude. Like, if you want to put your shit out there, put your shit out there. You can't just be, like, doing nothing and just hoping that someone's going to come along and pick your sorry ass up. Like, that's not going to fucking happen, dude. It's like... I told him straight up, and he was like, yeah, no, I do think it's like, no, that's not going to happen. But he was in his own delusion, I guess, at that point. Went to the Chinese restaurant. That night, he puked everything out and blocked my fucking drain because, like, his bathroom's right across from his
bedroom. Is this dude on crack? Is this dude fucking smoking something?
No, he's dead fucking sober. He's
no sober. He's acting like a fucking bird, bro. He's acting like a freak.
Yeah.
Acting like a sick pigeon.
Yeah. So, what happened was he was in his bedroom. He felt sick, started puking, but instead of like, so this is the first gross part. He puked in our sink. Because like, but the thing is, the first thing you see when you walk in from his room into the bathroom is the toilet. It's the first thing you see when you walk to the fucking room. Yet he went straight for the fucking sink, upchucked in the sink, tried to like wash it down, but there was so much of it that he told me he was, oh god, so this is gross, scooping it out with his hands and throwing it into the fucking toilet, like the upchuck. And I was just like, what the fuck? Because the next morning when I went to the bath, he told me only afterwards. I was like, why isn't the water draining down? And he told me this. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then this was the basically the second to last. This was like the last day he was here. And I remember it was one morning. I was so over his shit. I was on my computer. I had my headphones on. I was listening to music. I was drawing. I was doing whatever, right? Answering emails, doing shit, right? And his weird skeleton hand touches my shoulder and I jump. I'm just like, oh fuck, Jesus, you know, because I didn't hear him come in. I was like, I had my headphones on, and he was like, oh, I thought he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you. I was like, yeah, whatever, what do you want? And this is the thing that really made me never ever want to talk to this guy again, and also was the thing that never ever made me talk to this guy ever again since he left, you know. He was like, yeah, this might be a bit of a weird question, but like, could I masturbate in your shower? And I was like, bro, what? My jaw dropped. I was
why
like,
would you? Why didn't he just do it and just
shut the fuck?
Why doesn't he just do that in the toilet and just like fucking go be ashamed about it later? But like,
yeah,
I'm
not bullshitting you. He fucking asked me. My jaw drops. I'm like, I told him like, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Are you on crack?
Probably too much garlic in his system, you know, just fucked him up. I guess, you know.
Why would you, as another man, like, as another man, why does he have to ask that question?
Yeah, no, it's like, this was just fucked because it fucked with my head for a few weeks after it had happened as well, where it was like, I could not shower in my own house.
Oh, I know you were in that shower, like seeing little swimmers on the floor. Like,
oh, shut the fuck up! That's
getting visions and shit.
Oh yeah, like you just have like these weird visual psychosis
You're having
moments.
Nightmares, like sleep paralysis, thinking about it.
Yeah, there's a semen demon fucking haunting my bedroom every time. But like, yeah, he asked me, my jaw drops. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He's like, what? I just thought it was polite to ask. I was like, normal people don't ask other people if they can jerk off. I didn't tell.
Just do it and feel bad about it later.
Yeah, just do it and wipe off, like, just clean up after yourself, like, you fucking weirdo. Like, I was just like, get out of my fucking room. He's like, oh, sorry. Just like so upset about that. Very polite of
Ask that guy in the chat. Is this what Latvians do?
Yeah.
Is that something? Like
yeah, exactly. The garlics is more effective than shrooms. Yeah, Kayamas. Is this what Latvians do? They politely ask people each other to jerk. Nah, what the fuck? He says.
That is not what Latvians do.
No. So the story ends kind of like. There's two things that kind of like tied, like bookended. So the first thing was the next day, I take him to the bus station because he had to take a shuttle bus from there to the airport. Right, I wasn't gonna go with him to the fucking airport, and we were an hour early to it. You know what I mean? And I had to sit there for an hour, and he was like, you know what? I really, really liked it here. Maybe I should come move here. And my heart skipped a fucking beat. I was like, no, it's really expensive to live here. Like, the rent's crazy. You need to find a job. He's like, oh, I could figure something out. I was like, no, it's really pricey. I don't know if you can do it. I was just trying not. I was like, no, I do not want you anywhere near me anymore. I was like over it at that point. So bus comes. I give him a handshake. because I think he wanted to go in for a hug.
Shake his hand, dude. That's one of your first mistakes.
I know it was gross. Like, it's gross, but
Shake
listen,
his hand.
I had to be somewhat polite. I couldn't be like, yeah, bye. Like, I was just trying to be somewhat courteous, and I know that's a weird thing to do, especially with someone who asked you to jerk off in your fucking shower. But like, I was just like, he wanted to go in for a hug, you know. I was like, nah, a handshake's fine. I can compromise. There's a bathroom in the bus station. I can wash my hands, you know. But
Right.
I just like said like, yeah, good luck on your trip, get home safe, all this stuff. He's like, yeah, bye. So in the 2 weeks afterwards, we were hanging out in a Discord call that he also was like a part of. This guy was just like ragging on the food he was eating while we were here, and we were cooking him food. We weren't like just buying random shit and just giving it to him. We were just like actually making whole meals on a budget, mind you. And we're feeding him, and he was just like complaining and whining about the quality of the food and unhealthy food and all this other shit. And I was just like, you know, that's very ungrateful of you. And he's like, what's your problem? And I just told him straight up, like, you're my fucking problem. That's the last thing I ever fucking told him. So MGB stands for Masturbating Garlic Boy. That's what we call him now.
Is this a name that I would know, like a person I would know, or no?
Nah, this is just like weird circle of the internet of people that I hung out with that were really into video games and anime and shit. This is like olden shit, yeah. Real internet cringe shit, yeah. Cringe. It's me. Yeah, it was you, James. You were at my house asking me to jerk off about my shower.
Fucking James.
This guy sounds awesome. No, it's
James,
not.
I've known James in real life, you know. I've met James many times.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've known James for years.
Yes.
At this point. Yeah, he's cool as fuck. I mean, I will, if James is still here, I'll tell you this. Bro, I stopped smoking weed, if you can believe that. Because James knew me back when it was like a phase I had where I would only smoke weed like every day. Like, so it was like my thing. But I gave that up a few years ago. Because the government's fucking with the weed now, so
yeah.
I don't really mess with it.
I think that they're probably, if they're making it legal and stuff and they have more involvement, that it's a bit more suspect, I would say. Yeah, that's a good point.
But on the topic of MGB,
yeah,
I mean, dude, honestly, that's why I don't really meet people. Like, I try not to meet people on the internet. I mean, unless like they're verified cool already. Like,
hey, look, I met like Kabuto. Yeah, like I met Garbaggio, I met Kabuto, I met Axel, and these are all like Garbaggio.
I met Palace Moth.
Yeah, and he's, I mean,
yeah.
What was your experience with him? Yeah, you can relay that, because I had a good experience with meeting Kabuto and Garbaggio and Axel. Of course, Axel, because I knew him for like 10 years or 10 plus years at this point, and Kabuto and Garbaggio have only known for just over 2.5 years at this point, but we hung out so much that was just like there was a click, right? Sometimes you have people where it's like it takes time to kind of build something, and then there's just people you click with, where it's just like, oh shit, yeah, like we have a lot in common. We just get along really well instantly, you know? And
yeah, I mean, bro, like, I just have a radar, dude. I have an incel radar. If I can smell some incel shit, I try to stay as far away as I can.
Yeah.
Because there's just toxic people in this world.
Yeah, just I mean it's surprisingly not like I meet a lot of younger religious weed smoker. It says Dunsdale. Good for you, man. Not a great habit, says Empirical Audio. I don't like that word, to be honest. Incel. I mean, it's a crude word, yeah, but there's a lot of other crude words that we can't.
Who said that? Who said that?
Chaos. Well, yeah, you gonna go off on him?
Check yourself on that one, man. It's a good word.
What words do you like, Chaos? Is it words that I can't say? It'll get me banned from fucking. Get me banned
I can't think of a better word than incel. I literally can't think of a better word.
I can think of a word, but it's a word I can't really say on stream because I'll get in trouble, and it might be perceived as a very, 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 I'd say at least homophobic, you know. But yeah. I think you know what I'm talking about. But like, fuck yeah, I don't know. I think it's a perfectly fine cat cell. Yeah, just a cell. Black pillar. I don't know. Hopper1000 is gonna destroy you. Whoopi Goldberg smoking a fat one. I have a joke, but I gotta make it offline, Lamau. Yeah, well, we can hang out in a call afterwards as well and shit. Like, how long has it been going for? Because I wouldn't mind going for a quick smoke break as well, because I usually have a smoke break in my streams. We're going for like over 2 hours now.
Spoke up, man. I'm just trying to, I'm just banging this drawing out, you know?
Well, what I can do is I can mute the stream, well, mute the audio of the call, but I can put up your camera, basically, so people can see what you're doing. So so you're the main focus, basically. And I can just go and have a quick smoke. Just put it over to BRB screen for today. I don't mind that. What do you guys... So that's actually not a worst idea. Wait, hold up. Let me do this real quick. Live on the air. Window capture. Let me get the Zach cam on. Okay. There we go. Look at that. Zach cam. Especially just for you guys. Just for today. On the BRB. Yeah. Oh, wait, and then I'll put the little scumtapes radio logo that we have, the little 3D one in the corner. So that's our.
I'm just gonna be quiet though. I don't really have anything to say alone.
No, it's all good. I'll just mute the call for a minute, and I'm just gonna turn up the music, and then people just see you draw. Basically.
Just say when.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute right now, and I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm just gonna tell the audience just BRB, so it's all good. So just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great, dude. So let me deafen that real quick. Okay, guys, I'll be right back. You can enjoy watching our boy Hopper1000 draw. We're still gonna chill out and draw some more, of course, coming up. So keep it hanging, and I'll be right back. Let me turn this up so you can listen to this music real quick. Yo, I'm back. I'm gonna just quickly let our boy. Gonna go back to Hopper1000 as well. Yo, we're back.
We are back.
We are back. How are you? People are seeing you draw the full screen.
I can't even see the screen at all, but if anybody was watching me do that, they saw that I did the scum tapes right here on the stop sign right here.
Fuck yeah,
and
dude.
You can kind of see my process where I do the letters out of order just so I can make sure I have enough room. It's not about how clean it looks, it's just about fitting the word.
Oh, no, I feel you, yeah.
That was kind of a struggle there, but I got it on there. It's pretty good.
I think we're gonna go for like, I'd say another 50 or so minutes for tonight. 50, yeah. Like, so about an hour.
50.
Yeah. And,
okay.
Yeah, but if people in the chat have questions that you want to ask us, or something that seems, want to ask Hopper, like, go ahead, dude. I'd love to, relay it to him, because it's he's a very interesting fella. We also recently watched the game.
Oh, the game.
Yeah. I fucking thought that movie was great, honestly. You have a different context, but I'll say you're going to do an episode with Garbaggio probably on Culture Void about the game. We were talking about, I'm going to be transparent, we were talking behind the scenes a little bit about whether I should be on it, but I feel like you have a way more intrinsic bond with that movie, that you have much more to talk about than I do, because I only watched it for the first time.
The more the merrier on the podcast, but I do have a main point I'll talk about with that movie.
Yeah.
If anyone listening knows that movie, The Game,
yeah,
I think if anybody's seen it, they know it's a pretty powerful movie, but I think there's a lot of religious undertones that are looked over that a lot of people might not know about.
Yeah.
Did you see any of that when you watched it?
I felt some of it, but I was personally more intrigued by the augmented reality aspect of it. But when you brought it up after we finished the movie, I was like, oh yeah, I can definitely see what your perspective on that is. But I think that kind of can bring us into a very 1997 The Game, yes, by David Fincher. Very, very good movie, highly recommended. I would see if I could try to plan it in for a movie night on the server, perhaps. But I've watched it recently, so I'll give it a couple more weeks, or we'll do it sometime after. Halloween, because October, I think a lot of people are just gonna want to watch Halloween or horror movies on the movie nights that we're gonna host. So that's gonna be that. But we'll probably definitely make it a point to put that in one of the movie nights on the server and on Scum Tapes. To whoever's still in here and hanging out, you're more than welcome to join our server if you are into, music production, art stuff, movies, whatever. We have a nice community, 1,000 smiles waiting for you. Come in, say hi, see what it's all about, And
hey, if anyone's listening, I'll sell this drawing right here that I'm doing for $50. So $50 can get you this sent to your house.
Yeah, I'll let me make that a bit bigger. So yeah, this is a very rare, very unique piece.
And I'll finish it. I'm finishing it out. I got work to do on it.
Hell yeah. No, but it fucking rocks, though. This is actually a very interesting format to have you converse about stuff. And I was gonna just bring it up because you are a very religious person. You're a Christian.
Yeah.
You're a very can you relate to the audience a bit more about how you came more into that sort of
those
ideals, basically.
My story with it is I kind of grew up a lot different than other people in the sense where other people probably grew up in a religious household, but I was growing up in a household with no religious views at all. I grew up in a single mother home, and my mom is a really amazing person, but she's kind of a hippie. She loves the world. She's a happy person. and she's not religious in that kind of sense.
Yeah.
She believes everything happens for a reason. She has a very beautiful worldview, but it's nothing. I never grew up reading the Bible or anything. I remember I acted up one time and she sent me to church for like a couple weeks. That was because she thought it could do something, but I didn't get anything out of it really. I just thought it was all bullshit my whole life, and then I grew up, in my teenage years, got in a lot of trouble, and into my early adulthood I got into a lot of trouble, and a lot of bad things happened during that time period. Lost a lot of friends to drugs, guns, bad stuff, and I started getting a pretty dark worldview actually. I kind of had a sentiment around that age of like 18 where I was like, I didn't know what kind of God could allow this world to have such crazy things. So, I'm growing up in like the drug world and whatnot, and I'm like, dude, how is God real if this world is like this? Like, if I know people who are dying and like it's just really bad time.
Yeah.
And so I started just saying like really kind of blasphemous things, like, you know what, like I was just kind of mad at the world, and I would even admit like kind of mad at God, because I was like, what's going on here? So I kind of just like dove even deeper into darkness at that point, and just dark worldview, dark lifestyle, and I started like kind of having like visions, because I mean, admittedly they're drug-induced visions, but I started just being like, holy shit, like this world is demonic. Like I started being like, it's stuff I could only describe as legitimate demons.
Yes.
And obviously, like, if you look at my work there, especially at that time, it was very dark, and I basically just fell into kind of like, I was like, holy shit, like, that was one of my first eye-opening moments.
Yeah.
I mean, there are many, like, deeper stories that will go into it about, in the street, just running into people who I can only describe as pure demons, like, incarnated. And like maybe they were people at one point, but they're, because of drugs or because of circumstances, they're kind of just like demonic. So I was like, holy shit, like maybe this stuff about demons is true. And then I fell really into a dark place, because I'm like, holy shit, like am I in hell right now? Like what's with all the demonic stuff everywhere? So I kind of just like went in a really dark place. And so I decided, I was like, I kind of switched up my lifestyle. I like moved back to Florida, moved back to my mom's house, because I was in a really dark spot. And I just started going to church every Sunday, and like I kind of realized, like, through the Christian worldview, it's like, yeah, there are demons, but there's also angels, So I just started like educating myself with the religious background that I never had growing up.
Yeah.
And I believed it, and I still believe to this day. I'm like, yes, they are legitimate demons.
Yeah.
And there is an enemy on this planet. And the enemy is hatred and evil exists and good exists. And like, I never had the background growing up to know that, really.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I was still a moral person to the most part, but just growing up in like a really kind of a dark world, I was like, it just opened my eyes. I'm like, okay, so this is real. So I just started reading the Bible. And when I first became Christian too, I did what a lot of new Christians do, which is like, I started thinking everything was evil. Like, I was the type of guy who would have said like yoga is wrong, and crystals are wrong and stuff, which I was always into like crystals and stuff. So I was kind of at like an identity crisis, because my entire life before being Christian was like heavy metal and like collecting crystals because I liked stones and whatnot. And now I'm at a crossroads. I'm like, is this all evil? And then I'm just like, no, dude, I was a kid. To go deeper, some metal is evil, I will say, but just to finish out the story, I became this kind of Christian that was scared of everything, kind of Christian that thought yoga was bad, astrology was bad. But then I started getting into even deeper teachings and finding out, like, now the type of Christianity I'm into now is definitely a more mystic version, but it's still Christian,
Yeah.
you know. And I collect and read a lot of like mystic Christianity books because I always did grow up kind of with the mystic spirit, and I kind of got over that like fear-based Christianity, which I do believe is kind of a false Christianity, because God does not want people to be scared like that.
Yeah.
And just side note is like, I think that Christianity was kind of toyed with the Roman Empire, just like, because before propaganda, they controlled people through religion, so they started saying astrology is bad and crystals and yoga. And it's not true. These things are actually scriptural. Like, it says in the Bible that God's going to show you signs through the sky. That's astrology. There's crystals in the Bible too. It's like, so I just I became Christian around like 2018. I started going to church, you know. I just kind of cleaned up my life around that time, and then I kind of just like reconciled with my own past and like really decided that like these things I thought were bad when I first became Christian, like astrology, crystals, yoga, other religions.
Yeah.
They're actually, it's all in scripture, but the thing with scripture is it's very multi-layered.
Yeah.
There's stuff for the exoteric and there's stuff for the esoteric. And the modern Christianity in America is very exoteric, and a lot of those people don't even know some of the realist teachings that you can get through the Bible. And,
Yeah.
There's a lot, the Bible, there's always something new to learn, and it just, no, Killer Priest said it best, one of my favorite rappers. He said, it's the basic instructions before leaving Earth. Bible. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. It's like a playbook. I do believe it's divinely written, and I study the Bible, and that's me. I am Christian.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I'm a follower of Christ. It's not I wouldn't even say it's a religion, because
Yeah.
Christianity is against religions, actually.
Because I know you're a very also not only Christianity, but I'll have, because we're talking about it early about Manly P. Hall and stuff like that and Feral House, that you are also very interested in different sort of how different religious structures work, you know, or
Yeah.
like, because I remember because my icon on Discord and also my Twitter profile picture is Sephiroth Mon from Digimon, and you were instantly like, yeah, that's Sephiroth, the Tree of Life from Kabbalistic religion, and that has a whole, like, you were instantly like aware of that. I wasn't. I know about a bit about the Tree of Life. I've seen it around and stuff. I didn't make the connection straight away because of the name and stuff. I just thought it looked crazy. But you were like, yeah, I mean, look it up, and I was like, oh yeah, shit. So you do have like a wider knowledge about different religions, and or at least attempt to try to understand all of it, because of course there's a lot of things that, you know, I mean, I'll be honest, like I can't sometimes like tell things apart, or I have trouble taking in information and stuff. So, but there's a lot of different sort of like sub-religions and like different interpretations and sort of like sects and groups and all of these stuff, even within their own sort of like main base religion, that sort of have their own infighting or conflicting ideals, right? You have conflicting ideals within like different versions of Christianity or Catholicism or whatever, like, or Protestants or whatever, or Orthodoxy or whatever, you know?
So it's like, it says in the Bible, you should not have no gods before me. And, you know, there's just, I do believe there are like other divine people like Buddha and whatnot. I mean, I haven't studied Buddha enough to really know, but like, I do believe just God reveals himself through many different things.
Yeah.
And you're not, I just don't, like, there is one true God, the Most High God, that's what I say. The Most High, good God, the God of goodness, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I follow. But that being said, there's like a different path for each, I would even say, race too.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna. There are whole countries of people who do not believe in Christianity. It's unfair to. There are good people everywhere. I know people of all kinds. They're good hearts. God reveals Himself through many ways.
I think that God can also be interpreted, because since while there are many different religions and groups and names for God, I think there is like a wholly like overarching concept of the idea of a God, of God, not a God, but God, right? This omnipresent, powerful. We could say powerful because He does control a lot, but like he sees all, you know. And you see that kind of imagery, for example, coming back in like Freemasonry or with the Eye of Providence and stuff like that, the all-seeing eye, and all of these ideas and concepts that sort of leak through in different sort of religions. But the idea, the concept of God is something that, while I wouldn't call myself like a very religious person, right? I am very open-minded to the idea of religion, and I'm very totally fine with people being religious. I think it's also very interesting, not for personal reasons, but also like because people have different interpretations about what is a god or what is God as well, and that makes it interesting or fascinating. Like, so there's some people I know that I consider friends who they're more Roman Catholic, but still they take on more fascinating sort of perspectives, that it's not like everything by the book, like mainstream sort of Catholicism or whatever, but like different philosophical approaches to what is God's role in all of this, and what is our role in the eyes of God, and sort of like interaction and good and evil, and going into a more deeper realm than just being like, this is good, this is bad on a very basic level, but like very more cognitive ideas behind it. And that's why I'm totally like interested in like hearing about it. You know, there's a lot of people nowadays that, you know, we live in a very weird age when it comes to at least religious practice, especially in the West, where religious practice has sort of become more frowned upon. I feel like, in a sense, you know what I mean? I think, yeah, sure, you have people that abuse religion. You know, televangelists, people that like use it for their own personal gains, which is against, you know, no man knows the time of day, you know, kind of stuff, or can predict the future, or can call themselves a god or close proximity. That's something that I would assume gets assigned to you, I would say. But like, there are a lot of good people that, you know, while they might not say that they're Christian, they might not have the pendant around their neck, they might not go to church every Sunday, there's enough good people in the world that you could say were a godsend, or like an angel in disguise, even if you're being very poetic about it. But yeah, I do believe in a higher entity, that, and I think God, for me, is just the overarching, just the name that we as humans can like comprehend giving him. Because I remember it was a line, and it's on Little Ugly Mane's Oblivion Axis. It was the first song on that. I have it on vinyl as well. Great album, but very misanthropic and very angry album. There's one line in that whole song that's really fucking cool that says, if there's a God, I'm sure his name is unpronounceable, because that's a name that we sort of can come to comprehend, but we don't know what his name truly is, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's how I feel too, kind of.
Yeah, and I think it's just interesting conversational topic, because it's there's a lot to go into with religion, and like you said, Manly P. Hall book would probably be a very good purchase for people to make, I think, you know?
Yeah, and like I said, like there was a really scary time, like when I was 18 or 19, where I was totally nihilistic, and I didn't grow up with religion, so I thought I was totally into death metal, so I thought nothing of blasphemy.
Yeah.
But I noticed like the more I did these things, the darker I felt, and the more scarier my life got, and that's what really kind of woke me up, because I was like, whoa, like it's all true, kind of. You know, like if you do bad, like, you know, karma is true, like all of these, like demons are true, angels are true. Like I just started, like, you know, I started having crazy dreams too around that time, and I was like, it's just undeniable after a certain point, because before that point I was totally like, you know, there was still kind of an innocence in my early childhood to what I believed, because it was, I just didn't have any real teachers for that kind of stuff growing up. I just, I was a single parent household. I just grew up skating and drawing and just being a total weirdo on my. I had just figured it out by myself on that front. But yeah, I just had to. You just can't deny it after a certain point if you start getting like tuned in to the actual like spiritual frequency of this planet.
Yeah.
And I think in the times where now it's getting easier for people to see is just there's just like one crazy thing after another. It's like you gotta have something to believe in, because I can't imagine if I didn't have my spirituality, and like if I didn't have my spirituality, I don't know where I would be in these times.
Yeah.
Because that's something I fall back on. It helps me.
Yeah. And I think religion, for a lot of people, has been a saving grace in a way, helping them get a more better comprehension and understanding, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So I think it's rather fascinating. And I always I'm entranced by those conversations, of course, when I see the sort of flyer pitching Jehovah Witnesses or whatever, I'm a little bit more, okay, you're doing this just to try to sell me a Bible or sell me some weird stuff like that. And there's other people that I've a little bit more yeah, okay, dude, you're not in this for, you're not real shit about this, you know what I mean? You're just kind of doing this for whatever. But
yeah,
there's still a lot of fascinating, stories and ideas and concepts and philosophies behind it that I think are interesting to explore, even if you're not a highly religious person. That there's a lot of good you can glean from religion as well, and I think it's just super fascinating, and it's always cool to when you talk to me about it in all these different ways. All my friends, it's kind of funny. I have a couple of friends that you will say I'll have a blessed morning if you're coming to the chat or whatever, or you send me a message and and even I see some of my other friends do it as well, and I always wish them a blessed morning back, because it's just yeah, bless the day, bless your friends,
Oh yeah, I mean, you don't have to be religious or spiritual to know that the more good you try to put in this world, the more good things come back to you, and that's not the reason you do it. You just do it because you want the world to be a better place for everybody. I think one of the best things somebody can do for themselves without any kind of religion is just try for a week or something, just helping people as much as you can, and watch how the world will bring it back to you.
Yeah. I think that would be, that's always just be humility and humanity type of thing as well, just
and most people are actually like that, but sometimes people can get blinded by things, I guess, what's it called, just items and shit, but
yeah, materialist sort of perspective. Yeah,
but most people are good, and most people want to see you win. Everybody in my life, I just want to see everybody winning, and unfortunately some people, they can get down, but you just try to help everyone win.
Yeah.
Because there's enough. Hey, I got a note right here that I keep right next to me. This is something, I don't even remember where I read this, but this is the note. It says, "Our souls are our inner gold. We share our gold with others because our gold is too heavy to carry by ourselves. The reason the gold is too heavy to carry alone is because the gold is dangerously close to God." Oh,
that's a lovely saying. That's gorgeous.
So you can't carry all your soul gold, you can't carry it physically, it's just too heavy. It's dangerous. So you gotta spread the love, and you gotta help people where you can.
That's a lovely sentiment, man. People in the chat love it too. They agree with it as well.
It's good. Just keep it positive,
Yeah, and with scumtapes, love someone, even if the imagery looks a bit wild or a bit out there, and sometimes our themes, the thematic, sometimes of our designs might seem a bit misanthropic or gallows humorous. It's usually we try to be as positive as we possibly can get. You can have your bad days, but usually we try to stay positive. It's kind of funny because people have a very wild assumption of me because I talk about a lot of dark subjects in general, and sometimes I have bad moments, but you know, those bad moments are fleeting; they pass too, you know.
Yeah.
But I also just considering like a lot of controversial subjects that we talk about, and just kind of like the terrible state of the world type of thing, like of very bad things happening, because it's just like, you know, conversational. I think a lot of people have a misconception that I'm a very, very negative person, and I get it. I totally understand why. But it's definitely not my intention. You know, it's just sometimes that the topics that we do talk about can be, like that image below the Discord link. Cool quote. Oh yeah, the roll the dice one. Yeah. That was just something that came to mind real quick. But still, yeah, sometimes that's kind of like a whole other meaning to it. But I mean, I just try to be as, amongst my friends, amongst ourselves, just getting shit done in a positive way, doing art, doing music, doing events, doing compilations, doing merchandise, doing whatever, and also just like hanging out with your friends, you know? Oh, let's watch a movie. Oh, let's talk. Let's even video games or whatever. Just like spend time with people around you. Sometimes, you know, they could be hurting, but sometimes I just need that, like you said, love and affection and friendship, you know? So that's very important to me as well, is like make everyone, like I care, for example, like my mom, right? She's in hospital right now. She had an operation today. Chad doesn't know about this, so I'm telling them. I already told you about it. But yeah, my mom went into operation today, and of course I'm worried sick. Of course, you know, like, but everything went fine. Everything went great. She called me before I actually reached out to you. She was a bit out of it, of course, you know, because you know, usually you are after an operation, right? But now she said everything went fine and stuff. She sends everyone their regards. So you guys, my friends, you too, Hopper, of course.
Okay, nice.
Everybody gets a blessing from my mom, and she has a very liberal way of like upbringing. Like she was kind of like, you know, letting us explore our own sort of like ideas and like what we want, what we liked, what we enjoyed, and like styles or whatever. Like I was into, like I said, also into punk and metal stuff in my teen years, and she of course sometimes she made fun of it, but like not in a negative way. She's just like in a I don't understand that music kind of way, you know. But I love my mom to fucking bits, and it radiates upon not only me but all my friends, and she always says, say hi to all the people for me, give them my blessings. I'm like, yeah, I will. Send them my regards. I was like, yeah, no problem, Mom. Nice. It's like, so everyone's got their regards. Right, we still have like about 20 more minutes left. If anybody in the chat has questions, feel free to ask them, you know. We're more than welcome to have open conversation. If you've got questions for me or Hopper, feel free to shoot it out, man. Like, we've got a little bit of time left, and if you have any questions, like even if you want to see if we can ask live advice, I could try to give live advice. But yeah, I don't know. If you guys have any questions, go ahead. Can we get a shout out to Mom? I will give her a shout out. She'll be actually, funnily enough, I'm trying to get something together that I can do a stream with her that we can do. What digital audio workspace does Hopper use? So what software do you use? Ableton mostly? Yeah.
All Ableton is all I use. Some of the weirder stuff you hear could come from Paul Stretch. It's not even a DAW, it's just a weird tool.
Yeah, Audacity effect, yeah.
But I use Ableton for everything.
Oh, wicked.
One thing that's like crazy that I do is sometimes I turn the grid off on Ableton.
Okay.
So I'm just doing it kind of an old school way where I'll like paste the breaks, like I'll listen for it instead of like do the grid, and I think that can throw people off and think I'm like using something else.
Yeah. Okay. Kayamas asks Hopper, have you ever practiced perspective and stuff? And I think this relates to art, right? I think yeah, that's a question from Kayamas.
I don't. I mean, I sometimes, like, I had a sketchbook for a while where I would try to just go to a diner or a lake and try to draw it, but it was never really that great of results. But I'm trying to do that more as I get older because I want to evolve, so I'm trying to do some perspective stuff soon.
Yeah.
It's not lost on me that I don't have a lot of perspective going on in a lot of what I do. But yeah, I'd like to try it more
Okay.
as I develop.
That's good. It's always good to kind of practice that kind of stuff anyway. Even if you're already, doing it for a long time, it's still good to learn the fundamentals anyway. If you're an art guy. Yes. Say No Vivo says, bro, Hopper, how do you feel about the Geico ads? I don't know. That's something that's he always talks about Geico, but
I haven't seen a Geico ad in like 10 years. I had ad block my whole life. I don't even know what that little lizard is up to these days. That gecko.
Scamming people out of money with insurance.
I think I had Geico for like 1 second, but now I use like Allstate.
Okay. Hopper. Okay. Moms and Hopper, favorite deck company, like skateboard deck company. Yeah. What's your favorite skateboard deck company?
Well, this is where I have to say my confession. I was a fruit booter back in the day. I was way more into the rollerblading. I did skateboard a little bit, and I had a blind deck, and I was into blind, but as far as skating history, I was all BMX and rollerblading back in the day. I quit a couple years ago because I got a pretty bad injury.
Yeah.
But I'm still pretty in the skate culture, though. I got a lot of skateboarding friends, and I'm still pretty deep in the skate world, but I don't skate at all anymore.
His response to that is, yo, that's kind of sick. But is there any, like, aside from that, was there like a skateboard company whose graphics you were like, yo, that shit looks tight though? Like when you saw a board graphic.
It was always like blind for me.
Yeah, I know the '90s blind stuff was really sick. Yeah.
I liked Girl for some weird reason. Chocolate was cool.
That's
I was
nice
definitely
graphics.
in the topic of like Hesh or Fresh. I was definitely like hanging with Fresh kids more, so I grew up in like DGK era and shit.
Oh shit, yeah,
New York. I was like definitely more in the Fresh world.
Late City Stars type shit, like.
Yeah, and then for blades, I always had some razors and Rems.
Yeah. Oh, that's sick.
I still got my blades.
Yeah, that's tight. For me, it's I like a lot of companies because I look from a graphical perspective. I would say that from all the stuff I've seen over the years, if it comes to modern skateboard companies, I really like Frog Skateboards graphics.
Yeah.
They're very like there's a style that a friend of mine kind of dubbed called naive art, but it's not supposed to be negative, but the word naive has like a negative connotation to it. But like it's this sort of idea of kind of childlike, innocent drawings and stuff, and using all kinds of weird mediums. What I like about Frog is that it's just they do that all the time. It's very crazy. It's sort of wild. Yeah, I don't know. My boy Zephyr called it naive art. He's a friend of mine from Brussels. But Frog just has this like cute, nice aesthetic, very just kind of let's say cartoons and very also very rough styling, but it's just enjoyable to look at. When it comes to overall like legacy shit, for me it's like the 90s era of blind and world industry skateboards when they had all the super controversial graphics will be hands down some of my favorite shit I'll ever like look at, like the Accidental Death board and stuff like that. So like that's like Sean Cliver, and also of course another company I really like is Hookup Skateboards, because there's girls. I know that you're not a super big anime guy, but like the 90s stuff always looked cool, and I have a couple shirts and I like some of the designs, and then anything that Mark Gonzalez is involved with because I like his art as well. Oh yeah, I remember seeing him in a documentary about a Ukrainian museum with naive art. Question for you, Goro. Will the price of commissioning art for usage of an album cover be the same as just the general art usage? What do you imply by that? That you mean that it's going to cost more? Well, yeah, of course it's going to cost more. If that's what you're asking. I would like, oh yeah, if you're talking about like the donation thing, like that's just like, yeah, that's a personal thing. I'll draw for is like whatever prompt you have. But if you're gonna commission me, it's gonna be a bit more because there's a more of a functionality to it, and I have to plan that into my shit. So yeah, if that's what you're asking, at least. I don't know. I don't have a skateboard, but I was looking through one time, and I really like this one. Signed Rubbish Heap limited edition aboard assorted colors. Let's have a look at that. Oh yeah, that Rubbish Heap is that's a classic World Industries videos as well. So, yeah. That's he was involved with that pretty heavily. Jeremy Klein's a crazy fucking guy, but yeah, it's a super good shit. I would say go check out Jeremy Klein and his like Klein Industries stuff as well. But
hey, for anybody who wants to look into rollerblading, check out this video called Black Market. You can find it on YouTube. That's the #1 rollerblading video. You can see the swag.
It's kind of crazy how rollerblading is now sort of becoming where skating was in the 90s, where rollerblading is now. Because it's always been like the underdog's extreme sport, right? In a sense. Well, extreme.
Yeah,
sort of.
Everyone. Dude, it was like the gayest thing you could do next to having sex with a guy. Just, like, fucking skating.
But I think now because skateboarding is such a monolith of an industry that I think a lot of people are looking to something that isn't that anymore. Skateboarding is still cool to an extent, but like that's usually the smaller, weirder crews. But like mainstream skateboarding, you look at it, it's kind of whack, right?
What's really shocking is the scooter kids, bro.
Oh, they're doing fucking crazy shit, insane ass fucking stuff.
I just started following like a bunch of scooterers on fucking Instagram. I want to start interviewing them on my radio show.
Oh, they probably be fucking down.
I've interviewed some skateboarders. But
like
the scooter kids, that's another thing that was really looked down on that is arguably getting more popular than skateboarding.
Yeah, but I think that's the normal thing, right? Like everyone looks down on the thing that, you know, is under them, or they perceive as being under them, like rollerblading and scootering and stuff like that. But there's the younger scooter kids that stuck with it are now growing up, and they are becoming more efficient and also doing much more crazier shit than they were, you know? So they're kind of crazy, like doing fucking double backflip, multiple tail whip shit. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, and then rollerblading, it's like that's in the same position where it's like it's always been sort of an underdog in the extreme sports sort of like in like culture basically. But now it's becoming to a point where there's a whole generation of kids that are being like, man, all this skateboarding shit's kind of whack. It's all popular and all these annoying people are doing it. I'm gonna go to rollerblading because they're looking for something, right? Like when we grew up and skateboarding was sort of the underdog thing. It was getting popular, but it was still like perceived as like, oh, it's never going to blow up beyond a certain point. But now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry with companies and competitions and all this other shit, you know? Heelys Olympics. Yeah, Soaping's going to make a comeback, dude. Soaping's going to come back. Ryan John Zemis will have his day. I swear to God. Now that's a fucking character right there, Ryan John Zemis. He's kind of crazy.
That sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Yeah, Ryan John Zemis, he was a rollerblader in the 90s, but he invented this thing called soaping, which is like these shoes that have...
soaping now. I know soaping.
Yeah, he was sort of like he was basically known for a while as a professional soaper, basically. And for a while he was making good money off of it, and it sort of was like a trend. And it also because funnily enough, Sonic the Hedgehog, he
That's soap.
Yeah, he does soap. Yeah, so it had a moment of like a flash in the pan mainstream sort of moment, but then it instantly just fell off in a sense. So Ryan John Zemis is basically like the last real soaper. I mean, everyone else dropped at the moment it wasn't cool anymore, it wasn't popular anymore, right? But he stuck with it because it was the entire thing that built his presence, but at the same time, it's also the thing that dragged him down. And there's a very good, I think, video on YouTube. There's like a documentary. I don't know who made it, but it's called Soap or Die, I think. And it's a documentary about Ryan John Zemis, and this guy is like basically a very wild dude. I think he's from Las Vegas as well. And just
H3 made a video about that. I remember.
Yeah. I don't like H3 anymore, honestly. I used to watch his shit when I was younger, but like not really in it anymore. Like his new shit's
yeah.
kind of whack. Honestly, it's really fucking bad. Like, it doesn't even make videos, just podcasts all day, and it just whines about shit. I'll have to be air tracks to be able to think about it. Motorized roller skates, yeah. Just put some fucking fireworks under them, like in that Jackass skit. But I don't like. But anyway, back on topic. It's just like Ethan Klein. I don't know. It's kind of funny when I first saw him was like 2015, and I thought his videos were funny back then. But he was also kind of in the gutter and still small time, comparatively speaking, to where he is now, right? And of course, like. It's kind of funny because I see a lot of people being like, he became the person he hated. He's no, everybody misses the old Ethan, and nowadays he's just like, well, people fucking change, this and that. It's like, well, it's not just that you changed. I mean, there's shit that changes that's like normal, right? But all of the shit that he claimed he will never change, all of a sudden, like overnight, all of a sudden, it's no longer important. It's like, you know, being more open to offensive jokes, being more open to shocking people, or being transgressive against in an art sense, you know, and or an entertainment sense, and like standing with the idea that freedom of speech or freedom of expression and like anything should be fair game regardless of how controversial it is. That's one of the things about freedom of expression, is like, as much as there's shit in that whole thing that you don't like, and you have the right to not like it, that's the whole thing about freedom of speech, is you have the freedom of response, right? You have the choice to be like, I don't like this. But the one thing you can't really do is just completely censor it, you know, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he sort of became, when this is more riskier to talk about on Twitter, on Twitch, is just like when the whole sort of like social justice thing sort of like really took off. Initially, he was sort of, you know, still more on like the whole freedom of speech side, but I think after a while his fan base and other people in the industry, especially the LA scene, were like, yo, you got to change your tune, or you're out of here, basically, and sort of went in against all of his morals and ideas, you know. But
I mean, bro, I'm still associated with one of the most controversial people on the internet.
Yeah.
You know. I think everyone is sick of PC shit now, though.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a sea change happening where people are just like, yeah, no, like, this can't just keep fucking happening like this, right? You know, there's got to be some changes being made, or at least like, you see this because you see it a lot, like this like media that they put out that's all PC that flops. And the companies are like surprised. They're like, why is this flopping? And it's like, oh, because is everyone like, you know, a homophobic or racist or sexist? It's like, no, it's because you're holding yourself to these rules and turning everything into a political pity party or a cry wanking session. Like, yeah, it's no fucking fun.
Cry wanking?
Yeah.
I've never heard that term, bro.
You never
Cry wanking?
Cry wanking, yeah. It's I think it's the name of an artist called Crywank, but it's a term called Crywank. It's like a Urban Dictionary type of thing where it's just like, you know, jerking off while crying, but it's like, yeah, just being like so full of yourself, but also playing the victim at the same time, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you.
So that's how I interpret saying it like that. I know it's kind of a wild term to just throw out there, but you guys enjoy it.
To the uninitiated like me.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna say that term 100 more times, and it's gonna be ingratiated into our community. A cry blumpkin. Shut the fuck up, Axel. You fucking weirdo. But I love you for it. Oh shit. I should give you a quick call after this is done. We still have a few more minutes. Any more questions for Hopper or myself or both of us? Feel free to ask. Because yeah, we're almost at the 3-hour mark, and then I gotta get to work on commission work stuff, you know, today.
That's dope, bro. I like that. I liked being on stream. This is the first time I've ever been on a stream before.
Yeah, people seem to have a very, very positive reaction to you. They seem to really enjoy it, you know.
Maybe... I want to start doing maybe some like Instagram drawing streams someday. But you know, for me, I still just do my radio, which same kind of deal. I talk to people on there.
Yeah.
I do music. It's more music centered, but I interview lots of different people, artists, skateboarders, musicians. So Anybody who wants to jump on there, it's called Hopper1000 Radio. Just type that in, it'll pop up.
Yeah, fucking insanely awesome show. I listened to a couple episodes recently. Again, the Bobby Puglia one's probably one of my favorites, a highly recommended one. One Wheel says, Hopper, please consider streaming music production. Because you can do that from your computer.
What? I do like a screen recording?
Or like, yeah, you can live stream it. Like, I'll explain it to you how it works, like, when we have a bit more time as well. For like how to set up a stream and stuff like that. But yeah, music production streams are also very good way to get stuff done. Like I do music production streams as well on my end. Deadnet says 2 legends. Yeah, Hopper 1K. I think Hopper 1000 has more of a legend status than I am. I'm graced by his presence today. It was just very cool.
You're a legend too. You're a legend simply off of Modern Dread Rhythm. That song is crazy as fuck.
Yeah.
I probably listened to that song like 100 times, dude. Cause you might not see it on the streams, but I download everything to my phone, and that's definitely, I got a lot of replay on that song.
Fuck yeah, dude. I think I remember fucking Palace Moth told me like that the first thing when you guys met and you like drove around is like you put on Modern Dread Rhythm. That's what he told me.
Oh yeah.
Cause
dude, it sounds good in my car because I got like old speakers.
Yeah.
And that shit just like blows. I actually blew one of the subs recently blasting some jungle.
Shit, yeah, because that 808, man, it's fucking hard. You know what I mean?
I love how that song just like drops in and out though.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking when I was making it, but I was just having.
You were fucked in the head when you made that song.
I probably was. I mean, that was around this was 2018 era, so I was probably really fucked on drinking drugs and around that time probably meds too. That's another whole story I've talked about a little bit before on my streams, but we'll get into that. Yeah, but I don't think there's any more questions. I think you just talked about Hopper 1000 Radio, but again, go and check out. I think we're gonna start rounding it off here, but don't worry, you can keep drawing. Go and check out Hopper 1000 Radio on SoundCloud. Go and check him out at Hopper 1000 Radio on Instagram. Post his art there, updates, etc. Do you still use? Because I know you have another Hopper 1000 account, right? For books as well, I think.
I'm gonna start doing that more now. Yeah, I mean, if you want books, I got Hopper 1000 books. You know, just type in Hopper 1000 on Google, see what comes up.
Yeah, go and check it out. And for the rest, again, like, yo, thank you for like spending time coming to the stream and hanging out and shooting the shit, and you know, basically, yeah, it was super fun, and I wouldn't mind doing this again in the future as well. If you want to come on again sometime in the future, you're more than welcome to. People really enjoy it. People are really very receptive in a positive way. Seem to have a very good time in here. But I think it's about time for me to like close off the stream for tonight because we've been here for like 3 hours.
I got one more advertisement, and
go ahead. No,
if y'all want this drawing that I did right here for the scumtapes people right now,
let me make it bigger. Let me show it
it's
big real quick.
It's not done yet, but I'm saying when it's done, if y'all want it, it's 50. But if y'all don't want it, I'll end up selling this shit for like 300. So
yeah,
yep, that's it.
Ultra rare moment. So if any of you are looking to start a very interesting art collection of Hopper 1000 artwork, and trust me, his shit goes for good money too. So if you're looking for literally not only a bargain but also a rare bargain, because it's scumtapes related as well.
Yeah. So that's it. That's all I gotta say. Thank you to everyone who listened, and I hope. And my final words to everybody listening: hey, just do what you're supposed to do in this world. We all know what our true purpose is. You just gotta be quiet and listen, and you'll find out what's your true purpose. And that's the point of this world. Do your true purpose, because anything else is bullshit. Don't waste too much time.
Yeah. Wise words, beautiful words, and something I wholeheartedly agree with. And for the rest, with scumtapes, you know what the deal is. You know, go check out the links. New collection just dropped Monday. We got some really cool fucking shirts in there, so go and cop that if you want to support us. You can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram. I have a card website now, so you can find all the links via there. Scumtapes.com. 24/7 radio. We got a Twitter now as well. You can go follow that too at scumtapes online. And for the rest, we got a lot of shit coming up. October's gonna be massive. I'm telling you guys right the fuck now. You better keep your eyes open. We're gonna do some crazy shit in October. It's gonna be fucking wild, man. And I want to say again, thank you for so much for coming. A big shout outs to Free Needles for the raid. A shout out to AF Artsy Fartsy for the sub. Also Palace Moth for the sub. And also John Fedora for the follow. And again, thank you for all of you guys for hanging out with us. And we'll catch you guys next time when I probably stream again. It's going to be a bit busy this week, but I will let you guys know when I go live. You'll see it in the Discord server. By the way, if you're not in the Discord server yet, feel free to join. All right, I think that's about it. You guys have a lovely, lovely night. Any more final? I think you said your final piece, but yeah, let's give them a good night real quick.
Everyone have a good night, man.
Good night.
Everyone have a good night. That's it.
Okay, I'm going to mute you for a second, and I'll just quickly do a post with you. So, see you in a second. Again, good night. I catch you guys next time. Let's see who's live real quick. If there's anyone who wants... Is there anyone who want to raid or anything like that? Is there anyone who's live that we want to raid and give our precious time to? You know? Big ups to you. Is there anyone here? Anyone who's worth... okay, Luis is live. Is there anyone here? Oh, whoops. Oh, got... Luis? We could go to Luis. We can go to I Can Be Danny. We can go to DJ Lazy E. You guys looking for music? Mark Drums is online. We could do Luis. Yeah, we could do Luis of Azuro or whatever. What do you guys feel like? Music or weird art shit? DJ says good. Let's go to DJ Lazy E then. You guys are gonna enjoy it. He does a lot of really cool, like old school housey stuff and dance. So if you're looking for a good time, he's the guy to go to for sure. So let's see if this works. Is it gonna raid? All right, so see you guys around. Catch you guys next time. Just check the Twitter, check the Discord. I'll see you guys there. All right, have a good night. Good night. Night night.